Program. The phones are open. You can join us here and take control of the airwaves at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. You can join us online, of course, anytime you want. Just head over to freetalklive.com, and you can do that there. With you tonight, you've got Ian,
Matt,
and Bonnie.
So there's, of course, a ton of stuff in the news to discuss. We're going to continue and maybe restart a topic that we tried at the last part of the show yesterday, and we just didn't really have time to dig into it in any kind of meaningful way.
I couldn't even really get the gist of what the article was trying to say yet.
Yeah, something about Bitcoiners being psychopaths.
What?
So, yeah, we could talk about that coming up here. Plus, Elon Musk has made an offer to purchase Twitter, and some people thought that was going to be coming. And it did, apparently earlier today, to the tune of, what was it, $40 billion or something?
I thought it was $42 billion.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
That's a legit offer. It was a lot more than it's really worth. He paid $38 a share last week for what he did buy.
Yeah.
And this week he offered $54 a share.
$54.20 a share. He wants to take Twitter private. So
420, he did that on purpose.
He does that stuff.
Yeah, Elon Musk does do that stuff, so yeah.
He's constantly using the number 420 and 69.
And I didn't know until Matt pointed out to me. I always thought it was just random letters that he came out with his Tesla Model S, and then there was
the Model E.
The 3. No, the 3.
Oh, okay.
The 3.
Like an E.
Yep.
And then the X, and then the Y, so it's sexy.
Yeah.
I like him. I don't know what his angle is, but I like him.
I don't either. Although there's an interview I've been sort of watching very slowly. It's been around since late December, where he sits down with the Babylon Bee editors for almost an hour and 40 minutes and has a conversation with them about various different things. I've only watched 14 minutes of it. It's not my priority or anything like that, but every now and then I'll come back and I'll watch it for a few minutes just to see what the guy says. He's obviously at least seemingly freedom friendly in a lot of ways.
God, you wanna
like him.
You wanna like him, and you wanna pin that label on him.
But then he takes welfare.
Yeah.
So I mean, no one's perfect. And
there's tons of libertarians out there who cash those stimmy checks.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of them.
Sure. Well, I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with. I'll take the nobody position on this one. Our co-host Nobody, that if you're a libertarian and the government's going to hand you some money and you're willing to do whatever strings are attached to get that money, then you might as well take it. It ultimately was yours in the first place, likely, and even they stole it from you, right? Because that's what governments do. And even if somehow you've been able to track the amount of money that you've given to them over the years, and somehow you've taken in more than you've given to them, which would be a real feat. Even then, they're still going to give it to somebody. So, if you're using it to advance freedom, okay, fine. Personally, that's not right for me. It doesn't feel right for me. But I wouldn't. But I wouldn't judge somebody else for holding that particular position.
I just kind of like to wag my finger at people.
Yeah.
I would say the thing about the stimulus checks was everybody was getting that, and they literally made me lose my job, and I didn't.
The checks made you lose your job?
Oh, the government made me lose my job.
You mean through the lockdowns?
The lockdowns and stuff. But I didn't. I continued to work and refused to just go on welfare and sit on the couch.
Right.
So.
And most people went ahead and sat on the couch. Elon Musk, not a couch-sitting kind of guy. He's an entrepreneur, a very successful one. And he threw down, again, he's offering $54.20 per share. And that was made today, apparently. He already has a 9.1% stake in the company. Although somebody else bought out, they knocked him out of the top position. So last week when he became publicly the 9.1% owner, he became the largest shareholder. Now Vanguard Group,
of course,
is apparently 10% or so holder.
Basically the New World Order, right?
Yeah, that's the name of that company. Are they like the real estate holdings company or something?
I think so.
What's
yeah.
their deal?
Yeah. Well, there's two of them. There's two that you always hear about: Vanguard and Blackwater. And I'm sure some of our listeners. BlackRock. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're on the list too. I saw the list today of the ownership of Twitter, who owns the most stocks, and they're all in there. Bank of America, all these big bankers, big major investment groups. It's totally owned from like top to bottom.
Yeah, and if they don't take this deal that Elon Musk is offering, that would actually show how fishy the whole thing is, because
it's not about money. If
it's not about money, if they don't take it, then it's clearly not about money, because that board bears a fiduciary responsibility to accept that offer if no one else is willing to beat it. Yeah, they have to take that offer if there's no one else willing to beat it for their shareholders.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. So if their shareholders don't get the payout on that big offer, or if somebody doesn't come along and offer to top it, then it's his. And if they don't take it, then
they're breaching their responsibility and could be sued, right?
They're derelict in their duties.
Well, they're trying to spin this narrative that he's somehow threatening democracy with this. So they might just, use some backhanded way to take him away or keep it away from him. I don't know.
Call him a terrorist and nationalize Twitter?
Yeah, because they're trying to say, he's a threat to democracy right now. That's what all the tweets are saying.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The leftists are freaking out about this.
Well, that's the funny thing is, Elon Musk is using the same terminology, saying that having a free speech platform helps democracy.
Yeah, so it doesn't make sense that him buying it to make it uncensored would threaten democracy. It's only the other way around.
Yeah, the leftists are afraid he's going to reinstate Trump. Right? Like that's what they're afraid of.
They're so, that's the pettiest thing ever, right?
Imagine the shrieking if that actually happened.
It'd be great.
He couldn't just reinstate Trump because he owned Twitter?
Sure he could.
How?
Well, he'd be the owner.
Oh, of the...
Oh, you thought I meant into the presidency?
Yeah,
No.
Yeah.
No, Trump would get his Twitter account back, which would be hilarious. I would. Like, man. Would Trump take it? He's got his own.
Yeah, he would take it. He hasn't even posted on his own thing. He posted one time in a month.
Maybe he hasn't because Elon approached him and was like, just sweet.
We got you, bro.
Yeah, hang on. Just give me a minute here. That's funny. I wonder if Donald Trump would be willing to kick in any partnership money on the venture with Elon Musk. That would be extra hilarious.
The company is weighing adopting, this is according to the Wall Street Journal, a so-called poison pill that would block Mr. Musk, who owns 9.2% of the company, from increasing his stake beyond 15% or so, according to a person familiar with things there. Quote, the decision we make and how we execute it is in our hands, no one else's. This is what the CEO said on Monday after Musk had reversed his decision to join Twitter's board. We did report on that earlier this week. A lot of people were expecting Elon Musk was going to take that, and that would have limited him to 14.9% ownership, and he wisely did not take that.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, he's going to buy this whole thing.
He's going to.
When he doesn't take that board seat, he's buying this whole thing. I didn't think he was going to do it, and then the news came out.
What do you think they mean when they say there's a poison pill that could somehow block this this situation? They don't even hint at what that could possibly mean.
I don't think there is one other than maybe a worker strike, a walkout, maybe. But it's not like Elon Musk isn't prepared to hire all new people.
He's got tech people; they could just roll right in there. No problem.
I'm also one of my concerns is they, the Google Store and the Apple Store, Google Play and the Apple Store both threw Rumble out, right? Was it Rumble they threw out?
One or the other of those things.
One of the big ones.
Parler,
something that was one of those. I wonder if they're getting ready to throw Twitter in the dumpster too, if Elon Musk takes over and allows a free speech place to exist.
They certainly could. They could do that. Now,
that'd be a pretty big fish to throw into the garbage, though, right there. Twitter's a big deal. They're just going to delist that.
Can't people just get on Twitter from the internet? Because that's how I get on Twitter.
Yeah, you can just go on a mobile browser.
Well, couldn't you still be able to after Google Play got rid of it?
Exactly. You would just use your browser.
I think Elon Musk got to open its own Play Store.
He could always put it. That's an interesting idea. And he could always just put out the APK file for Google for Android users. iPhone users would be out of luck in that case because they're completely centrally controlled by Apple.
No, I use. Oh, I see what you're saying. For APKs.
If iPhone takes you off their store, you're done on iPhone. More coming up.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
When a lunar observatory detects a radio broadcast originating from Proxima Centauri, the nations of Earth discover their first contact with an alien race may also be their last. With the Proximans facing an extinction-level disaster, Earth must choose between sending a ship on a multi-year journey or allowing nature to take its course. Saving Proxima, a hard science fiction thriller by Travis S. Taylor and Les Johnson from BaneBooks.com.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. Phones open here. You can join us at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here tonight, it's Ian,
Matt,
And Bonnie.
talking about Elon Musk and the latest interesting development, one that a lot of people I think were predicting, that he has made an offer to take Twitter private. Now, I don't know a whole lot about how all this corporate stuff works with stocks or whatever, but presuming that he's the 9.2% or 9.1, depending on which articles you read, owner of Twitter as far as stocks are concerned, I guess that would mean he would have to buy the other 91%, right? Like he has to make an offer.
I'm not quite sure how that part works either, but I think what he's trying to do is buy the outstanding common stock.
Mm-hmm.
So the outstanding common stock would be anything that's not treasury stock, which is what the corporation itself holds. So whatever's on the stock market for sale when he goes to make the buy, or he puts the offer out and the company okays it, then that's that.
And what does it exactly mean to take it private?
Means so right now it's a publicly traded company. That means that anybody with a stock trading app or broker or whatever can go and buy or sell Twitter stock on the stock market, right? On the stock exchange. But if it's a private company, that goes away.
Right.
All of the stock is converted. It's not converted. It's bought out, right?
It's
so
bought,
like people who have the stock.
And technically, it's a private company. It's not owned by the government, but it's publicly traded. So you can go be an owner too.
Until if something like this happens, if Musk comes in and the board of directors takes this deal, and you're saying they basically have to, unless somebody comes in with a better offer, that it's their fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders to say
to take the offer.
The reason why they would have to take it is because he made it above, right? Like there's the current stock price, which is $40-something per share. He came in and said, "I'll pay you $54.20 per share." So basically, because everyone holding would quote unquote make money, except for the people that bought it at 70 or 60 or whatever was up there. Everyone holding it would quote unquote make money, so therefore it's in the best interest of the shareholders for the board of directors to say,
correct.
Yes, we'll take
and it
this
would
deal.
be a lot of money. It would be for him to make that
$43 billion.
Yes, it would be a lot of money just for the average person.
He doesn't have that cash. I was looking at some of the stories about this. You know, even though he's the world's wealthiest man, a lot of wealthy people have assets, right? They don't have cash. Elon Musk doesn't have $700 billion cash that he can access, but he does have stock in Tesla, and he's got business ownerships here and there, and houses and whatever other investments.
Yeah, most of the extremely rich people are pretty illiquid.
They're wealthy on paper.
Yeah, they're wealthy on paper. They have a lot of stuff.
But he can do this, right? Like he can sell Tesla stocks and then buy these. So he's got what it takes to pull this off. And the question is, when will this board of directors make the decision? How soon do they have to act on this? Is it like at their next board meeting, or do they have to convene a special meeting just to deal with this offer?
I would think it would be odd if they didn't convene a special meeting for just to handle this, because this is major.
Yeah.
Who cares about
this doesn't happen every
what's
day.
on the calendar for the next, the next meeting's on the calendar. It doesn't matter. This is something they should be getting together with right now.
Right. So that means there might be an answer on this relatively soon. What do you think about this, guys? I mean, is this the right way to do this? Is this the best way to bring some level of more freedom of speech to social media, is to just buy out one of the big corporations and run it yourself? Or should he have gone the other direction and launched, Elon's Mastodon or whatever?
Well, no one can complain like, oh, no one's on Elon's Mastodon, because everyone's on Twitter.
Everyone's on Twitter.
He can just create a new thing from what's already built.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be a new thing. I mean, unless he renamed it, I guess. But he's got the built-in...
Well, he could change it up, right?
He could change it. He's got the built-in user base. And I don't know how many users Twitter has. It's much smaller, I suspect, than Facebook. I don't know what... I know Facebook is down like 500 million people.
Wow.
The last we heard, and that was sometime last year that those numbers came out.
That's so curious to me, too. Why would that company want to kill itself? Like
Facebook?
Yeah.
I don't think it wants to. It's just losing users. I mean,
it's losing users because they're destroying their client base. Nobody wants to be on it if they're constantly on a 30-day ban.
Well, what percentage of people have to deal with that, I don't know. But
it's a lot. I've seen some real. I was surprised. Like, I get a 30-day ban. I'm hyper political and I'm very hyperbolic on Facebook, but I've seen some real average normies that I would never expect to be on a ban. Say, I'm just getting off a 30-day ban. Like, what were you? Smack talking the New Orleans Saints? What? I mean,
yeah. My friend, she got, I don't know if it was a 30-day ban, but she got suspended because somebody said, I had to get a COVID test to apply for an at-home job. Isn't that crazy? And she just said, for an at-home job? And she got suspended on Twitter or Facebook.
Normies.
And she's, she's not on there saying, destroy the government.
To me, $43 billion seems like a lot of money just for a damn website. I mean, I get that the user base has got to be worth something.
It has value.
And the market decides these things, and the market made that decision.
It does.
So.
And, when you buy a business, a lot of the time, most of the time, I'd say when you buy a business, you're not really buying like the equipment and the inventory. That's not what's important. What's important is you're buying the book of business.
The customer base.
The customer base.
Yeah.
And Twitter is a huge one of those.
Yep, that's true. And they've been around for a long time.
And he probably has a really big following on there, which
80
he would
million
have to
followers.
Yeah, he'd have to rebuild that somewhere else.
Which is why Trump is all in a tizzy about the Truth Social website that he tried launching early March, which after months of delays, it finally came out. Trump posted once on day number 1 and then didn't come back and was reportedly bellyaching about it in, private with his advisors or whatever. But
wait, and to see about what part? Like, what was he mad about?
The fact that probably the fact that the thing was botched. They launched on just Android, or sorry, just on iPhone, not Android. They didn't have an Android app. They didn't have a website. And so no wonder he doesn't have as many followers as he thought he was going to. He basically cut off the supermajority of the potential for people to be able to follow him. iPhones are only 1/10, last I heard, of the cell phone market.
And how many Trump dads
are having iPhones?
Have iPhones.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Dads who like Trump.
But that said, he still had apparently 500,000 followers on his new sites. It's like, that's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, you should get in there.
Like, you got 500,000 people that want to follow you. You should be posting at least every day. Yep. I mean, Trump had no problem posting multiple times a day back when he was on Twitter.
Couldn't get him off of it.
Yeah, so why
he could get him off of it, but you couldn't get him off of it when he was allowed to be there.
So why can't he just post every now and then on his? I don't know.
It's suspect.
Stupid.
I don't see how somebody would just be like, oh, it wasn't exactly right, I'm just not going to post. I feel like it's suspect. Like, for some reason
what
he's
way?
I don't know, threatened.
I don't know. That doesn't.
I don't know. Donald Trump's kind of a. I mean,
he's prissy.
He's prissy. He wants stuff to, and he's a boss. He wants stuff done now, and he wants it done right. And he doesn't want excuses. He wants things handled.
Don't you think he would at least send out something that was like, listen, we're going to do this again. We're going to do it right. We're going to get rid of this one. It seems
really
unprofessional.
Weird. Yeah. Wyatt has gone this direction. I don't know. But there's an interesting little detail here. Apparently, TED's Chris Anderson interviewed Musk, asked him if there was a plan B if this current offer on Twitter is rejected, and Musk said there is.
I love when he talks like that.
He's got something going, man. He's an interesting character. The number here is 603-283-6160. We'll talk about Bitcoin and psychopathy on the way, plus silencers. Are those now banned? I don't know. We're going to find out more about it on the way. It's Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live's video archives have been on LBRY for years. LBRY is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of it here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, LBRY launched Odysee, a video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and it's really taking off. Now with over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffected YouTube creators. During YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes and could be completely taken down at any moment. Thankfully, Odysee started offering live streaming, so we're now streaming live every night and posting our video archives permanently to Odysee. You can watch live or anytime on our Odysee channel by visiting video.freetalklive.com. If you want to go all in, download the desktop app at lbry.com, and then every video archive you watch, you'll help seed and keep it online forever. At minimum, we ask you visit video.freetalklive.com and follow us on Odysee today. video.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. Russia's defense ministry says its Moskva warship has sunk in the Black Sea while it was being towed to port. The Moskva was the flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet and has been a key part of the Russian naval assault on Ukrainian forces. Ukraine said it struck the Moskva with missiles, resulting in an explosion, which Russia hasn't confirmed. Earlier, Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby said that there was an explosion aboard the ship.
We do believe that there was a significant explosion on this cruiser, the Moskva, of the Slava class of cruisers in the Russian Navy.
Tesla CEO Elon Musk has offered to buy Twitter for more than $40 billion, saying he will take the social media platform private. The world's richest man, who is also Twitter's largest shareholder, said the company hasn't been living up to its potential to be what he called a platform for free speech around the globe.
Having a public platform that is maximally trusted and broadly inclusive is extremely important to the future of civilization.
In an SEC filing, Musk said he doesn't have confidence in Twitter's management and called his offer to purchase the firm at $54.20 a share his best and final offer. Musk also indicated that if the Twitter board doesn't accept the offer, he would reconsider his recently revealed 9% stake in Twitter, which could send the company's share price tumbling. Video footage has emerged of a white police officer in the U.S. fatally shooting a black man after a traffic stop. The incident has led to protests in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where the shooting occurred. FSN's U.S. correspondent William Denzelo reports.
Body cam footage from the officer shows 26-year-old Patrick Loyola exiting his car following a police traffic stop. He appears confused as to why he was being pulled over and appears to run from the officer a short time after Loyola is asked for his license. Footage shows the two men then fighting over the officer's taser that officials say was fired twice but didn't make contact. Police say the body cam was accidentally switched off during the altercation, but cell phone footage from the passenger in Loyola's car seems to show him then being shot in the back of the head. Officials say it's a tragedy and an investigation is underway. The shooting has sparked protests in Grand Rapids, demanding the officer be fired and face charges.
In other news, the European Central Bank is sticking to plans to conclude its stimulus program in the third quarter of this year. And Frank James, the man on trial for carrying out a mass shooting in the New York City subway this week, which injured 23 people, appeared in court on Thursday. James did not enter a plea and will be held without bail until his trial on federal terror charges. From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, phones are open. You can join us here whether you want to talk about Elon Musk's offer to buy Twitter, take it private, and really piss off some of the people that are on the left and are already freaking out over the possibility of Elon Musk running Twitter. The number is 603-283-6160. We're still not real sure on exactly what his belief system is. He says some things that make him sound really libertarian sometimes, like calling out the government for being a monopoly on violence. I mean, he has said
I know. He's been reading something.
Yeah.
Or he has been getting people to tell him what the people want.
The people don't want that.
Yeah,
though.
nobody talks like that. That's just us, Bon.
That's a libertarian thing. People don't want libertarianism. I mean, they just don't.
Like if Elon Musk comes out and says the government is a gang of criminals writ large, I'm going to be like, okay.
He basically said that.
Okay, I know he did, but I want to hear him use those words because then we will definitely know that's Murray Rothbard. And if we start hearing chapter and verse quotes that he's we're going to know at that point.
The people that have the monopoly on the memes are the libertarians, and that's what Elon Musk is into. So I think he just got somebody to go do a study. What are these good meme people like?
Tell me what the good meme people are all about.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting to watch this develop. I don't think there's really much else to say at this time. Now he's waiting for an answer from the Twitter board of directors. We'll continue to update you as that develops. On the way, we'll get into silencers, potential new restrictions coming from the federal government. Apparently, it was also part of this order that came out earlier this week about the ghost guns being quote-unquote banned, and we looked at that earlier, but we'll revisit it on the way here. Bonnie, you had a story about the Bitcoin psychopaths. Somebody's claiming that people who are really into Bitcoin are likely to have psychopathic tendencies.
Yeah.
And we started this last night, and it was too confusing or whatever, and we didn't really get a chance to talk about it.
Paragraphs alone didn't do the article enough justice. We were too confused about what they were trying to say. So I can just start from the beginning.
We'll see if we can make sense of it here.
This is from New York Post. It says, Bitcoin fans are psychopaths who don't care about anyone. Study shows.
No, they're confusing autists for, Aspergo capitalism is heavily drawn towards things like Bitcoin.
Yeah, I was going to say, what percentage of Bitcoiners are autistic?
A ton.
Oh, I bet. The average Bitcoin investor is a calculating psychopath with an inflated ego, according to scientists. A team of experts recently surveyed more than 500 people to uncover the personality traits that are most common among crypto nuts. They identified that many investors exhibit signs of the dark tetrad, a group of 4 unsavory traits made up of narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and sadism.
Okay.
In plain English, that means dark tetrads have an inflated sense of importance and derive pleasure from the pain of others, which, what does that have to do with liking Bitcoin?
Yeah, I just don't understand, like, and I can't speak for the Bitcoin community or whatever, because I don't know most of them, but I know the community here in New Hampshire pretty well, and New Hampshire, of course, is one of the top places on the planet if you're a crypto person to actually be and to use cryptocurrency. And it seems to me like people here are quite concerned with the well-being of others, and that is one of the driving forces behind why we want people to adopt cryptocurrency. Because, yeah, it's one thing to say, oh, okay, well, I got my Bitcoin, screw all the rest of y'all. That's not the viewpoint here. It's like,
I go around giving crypto to people. I want people to open wallets. We were in what was that town? We were in Plymouth the other day. We went out to lunch in Plymouth. I got the waitress a wallet open. I gave her $10 worth of. I do it constantly.
Yeah.
I'm always giving. If anybody wants to donate crypto to me to give to other people, speak up, because I'm running my own dry.
I used to do that prior to being arrested last year for the Crypto 6 charges.
I totally picked up that torch.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And well, you were doing it prior to my arrest, but that was something that I was doing, was giving away cryptocurrency here in the Keene area. We were running advertisements on local radio here and local print publications, inviting people to install their first crypto wallet. And if you were a crypto newbie, wouldn't give it to people that had already had it. Like if you were brand new, you'd get $50 worth of crypto. It was like $25 worth of Bitcoin Cash and $25 worth of Dash.
Which is worth a fortune now compared to what it was back then.
It's probably worth some more. I wouldn't say it's a fortune, but I've done it with hundreds of people in this area, and it's just like it's a mission to try to help people understand good money. It's the same thing is true about gold backs and precious metals. And
that's what we brought up last night when we got to this part of the article, is they said that they're making it seem like people want to hoard crypto and watch everybody else suffer because they have the dollar.
They're whining communists. That's all it is.
What we brought up was a lot of crypto people I know are evangelists.
Yeah.
They want everyone else to be getting a part of the same thing they are.
Well, and okay, so you could come at that from a cynical perspective. You could say, they are. Yeah. You could say, oh, well, you're only evangelical because you want the price to go up. You want people to come on board. It's all a big Ponzi scheme.
Still doesn't make you a sadist. Who are you hurting?
That being said, I can't wait to be rich, and I can't wait to watch them rot. I hope they enjoy their poverty forever. Good luck to them. And I'm being a psychopath when I say that.
Well, it says they also, the scientists also find it, the crypto nuts also find it difficult to empathize with others and are sly and manipulative.
That is the most untrue thing I've ever, to actually be immersed in a crypto community. That is the opposite of what I see.
Yeah, they can't get people to, most crypto people can't get people to agree with them and figure out what they're doing. It's been a slow, steady climb.
The whole purpose of Bitcoin in the first place, for anybody who's read the actual, Satoshi's white paper, the legendary white paper, it's all about helping out the common man and getting them away from the institutional banking empire that is destroying their fortune over and over again with things like, the Enron scandal and the housing bubble and the various, the meddling with interest rates constantly.
Yeah. I've got my critiques of the crypto quote-unquote community out there, but it wouldn't be that they're psychopaths. It would be that they're cultists.
Totally.
If I'm going to criticize,
guilty as charged.
That's where I'm going to focus on. And you're not saying you're a cultist, are you?
I like crypto a lot. dude. I think it's very, very, very important to the future of a peaceful, happy,
so do I.
prosperous mankind.
I absolutely agree with that. I think that it is a tremendous tool, as you mentioned, to empower the individual and to move away from states and violent governments. And it's a pro-peace thing, and that's one of the reasons why the Shire Free Church has been so involved in it. Of course, we're being targeted by that very state now.
That's why I'm a very happy member of the Shire Free Church.
But when I say a cult, what I mean is the problem is with the cult mentality, the team mentality, I guess, of people who are like, my crypto's the best crypto and no other crypto will ever beat this crypto. Like, and you see it in the Bitcoin maximalists, right?
Yeah,
there's them.
Yeah.
They're the most obvious ones because, well, they're the biggest one. But it's just as existing in other cryptocurrencies as well.
I'm kind of a Monero tyrant.
Yeah, but you're wearing a Bitcoin hat right now.
I am, but
as we're speaking.
Daryl W. Perry gave me this like 8 years ago, and my hair's a mess. So,
well, I like Bitcoin probably more than you do, Ian, because I don't know. You like it. I guess nobody's the most critical of it on the show.
Nobody's very critical. Our co-host, Nobody, very critical of Bitcoin BTC. I still, have a warm place in my heart for it. I think Bitcoin BTC would be great if they fixed it and made it usable as money.
I love the Model T. I love seeing a Model T driving down the street. They're awesome. They're so cool. They putt down the street, Yeah, but I like Bitcoin for the same exact reason I like Model Ts.
You say you're partial to Monero, but you're not someone who is a Monero-only person. If somebody comes to you and says, hey, Matt, I want to buy your cooking at PorkFest, or you sometimes...
I'll take whatever they want to give me.
Within reason. You'll take a lot of different cryptos.
Yeah.
And so you're not a Monero maximalist, per se, in that you believe it's the one true, the only way. You might think it's the best option. I mean, everybody's got a favorite.
Definitely prefer it over all others.
I think everybody has a preference. That makes sense. But to be rude to other people from other, crypto fandom, there's a lot of that in the community, and it's off-putting. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, You cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristohosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agris Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristohosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristohosting.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Phones open. You can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. By the way, if you're interested in learning about the basics about cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, you can get on over to bitcoin.com, and you can do that there. That's bitcoin.com. Joining you here in the studio tonight, it's Ian,
Matt,
and Bonnie.
We also want to invite you to go to news.bitcoin.com if you wanted to get the latest news headlines about cryptocurrency. You can do that. Once again, that's news.bitcoin.com. They got them for you updated every single day. Coming up, we get a chance, we'll give you an update on what insanity has been happening in El Salvador, the supposed Bitcoin capital. They want you to believe, at least, about El Salvador. The president there signed a law that makes Bitcoin legal tender back in September, and we've kind of been following that situation for a while. But now he's not focused on Bitcoin anymore and is instead focused on cracking down on gang members and destroying the civil liberties of the people of El Salvador in the process. We can give you an update on that, plus silencers potentially being restricted even further in the United States. But Bonnie, you were telling us about this story from the New York Post about cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin fans apparently being psychopaths, and we'll continue that in just a moment. But first, Major Payne is on the line in Michigan. Go ahead, Major.
You guys there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hang on, let me take it off speaker.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, late breaking news from the A&H News Network. You could pick your own acronym, but I would think it would stand for well, let's see, A&H.
I've never heard of it.
A student honorable. No, I made it up.
Oh, okay.
Could stand for
So what's the news, man?
Well, evidently, women can get women pregnant.
Huh?
Yeah, this whole, identity, I can be whatever I want to be. They're putting dudes in prison with chicks. And
really?
Dude knocked a couple of chicks up.
Well,
yeah.
if you're not on estrogen, are you really a woman? Don't you have to at least be put on estrogen?
Evidently, his sacs still work, darling. They're making babies.
Well,
thank you, Major, for the call tonight. Appreciate it.
I could see you saying you're non-binary, and I would respect that. I would be nice to you and everything. But if you're not even willing to put in the effort to be on estrogen and you just want to be a woman, I don't get that. Like, don't you want to be a woman?
And then proceed to have sex with the women there with your unit. I don't think we should get to detail.
Everybody's thinking the same thing here.
We are on broadcast radio. But that is an issue when it comes to jails, right? Like now with trans people being more, at least out and prevalent, at least, that we're more aware of them. How does a jail handle a situation like that?
Well, it doesn't sound like a trans people issue to me. It sounds like a people pretending, like pervert issues, somebody pretending to be trans. Because
Well,
you're
that's
not
part of the
trans if you're
problem.
not on estrogen, right?
I don't know.
Unless
I
you
don't know
just
how
have
to-
no access to it.
I don't think that that's part of the definition. I think that they're just saying if I'm a woman, if somebody says they're a woman, then they're supposed to be a woman or something like that.
I would think that'd be the bare minimum, like,
that you would expect them to be on estrogen for that.
yeah.
And I just wanted to. Well, I don't know. You know, why are we talking? We have a resident tranny who can answer all
She's just
this
not here
minutia
right now.
for us. She's not here right now. But
A resident tranny who's facing prison time.
I know.
She showed kids whose parents wouldn't let them get on estrogen or take them to the hospital how to use Bitcoin to buy estrogen or whatever hormone from India online with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I think that
No, she's
she'd
on
probably
that.
be on my side. No, I'm just saying
Yeah.
she'd be on my side, that you got to put in the effort, right?
I think
And
so.
I
Like-
don't think you have to wear makeup to be trans. I don't think you have to do your
No, but you
your hair
should
a certain
shave the
way.
beard. You know, like that's why I say, that's why I say like Arya. I'm happy to call her a she because she puts in the effort to look female.
Arya's just so dang cool.
Yeah.
That I'll call her whatever she wants to be called.
I told her I'm not calling her a they. I'm not going to go that
She
far.
doesn't want to be called
I
a
would
they.
have to draw the line at a they too, but Arya's not one of those.
No, and she wouldn't.
Yeah.
She said that she wouldn't do that. But that to me is like too crazy.
I think
And
they kind of drive Arya up the wall too.
Oh
So,
yeah,
big time.
definitely.
Well, because it's like people like this who are like, I'm a woman, but I'm just going to continue letting my body make all this testosterone and have
stubble.
Stubble, yeah, that's just strange. I mean, if you are not in a place yet where you're able to start hormones, I'm not talking to you.
Mhm.
Like that's your plans in the future. But I don't see how you can say I have a thing in my brain that tells me I'm in the wrong body, and it gives me, dysmorphia to see that I have boobs and a period, but yet you don't want to go on testosterone. That doesn't make you. I don't believe you at that point. I don't know.
The number is 603-283-6160 if you want to weigh in here. So, Bonnie, you were telling us about these alleged Bitcoin psychopaths, people who are being accused of having no feeling towards other humans. They not only that, they say they were getting pleasure from the pain of others, Schadenfreude.
Yes, these scientists found in a study that Bitcoin enthusiasts have narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and sadism.
Machiavellianism is like plotting, right? Like manipulating people?
Yeah, like getting your way to the top.
Okay.
Self-importance, and they derive pain from or pleasure from the pain of others.
To me, that
and
doesn't make any sense at all.
No.
They're
We know
sly
some
and
really, 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 really rich Bitcoiner type people, and none of them are bad guys. Not the ones I know.
Nope. Well, scientists at Queensland University of Technology described their findings in research published in the journal Personality and Individual Differences earlier this month. They asked 566 people to complete personality surveys, as well as answer questions about their attitudes to crypto. Of the participants, 1 in 4 reported that they owned crypto, and 2/3 showed an interest in crypto investing.
Okay.
I mean, you can say, oh, that sounds cool, and not have any crypto or know anything about it. So, all 4 dark tetrad traits correlated with an affinity for investing, each for their own reasons.
Oh, so this is their idea of a psychopath is someone who wants to get ahead in life by investing. This is what I'm smelling.
Yeah.
According to researchers, dark tetrads are partly drawn to crypto because they are prepared to take risks. Digital assets such as Bitcoin are infamously volatile, and the feast or famine nature of investing is particularly enticing to some.
I don't see why it would be enticing to a psychopath more so than anyone else. You don't have to be a psychopath to be a risk taker.
I was about to say, is a risk taker a psychopath?
No.
When I was in high school, we all took these in this financial class I was in. We all took these personality tests or whatever, and everybody was saying, oh, wow, I got a 10 on that one. I got a 3 on that one. I don't remember what the numbers meant, but I didn't say anything because mine was like way higher than anyone else's. And if you look at all our careers now, they have babies and they're in the Air Force or a nurse or whatever. And I don't even know what I am.
You're just awesome.
You make great cookies, Bonnie.
I do make great
Your cookies are awesome.
Well, Study lead author Dr. D. Wang, but I didn't get to my point. I don't think I'm a psychopath.
Okay.
I may be a
I agree.
narcissist.
I do not think you are a narcissist.
Well, I've always
think
thought
you're a narcissist.
narcissism is good. I mean, like a thing that
You love yourself?
people, put down the tendencies of narcissists wrongly, I think.
And when I think of narcissist, I think of someone who's so into themselves that it's they and only them, period, end of story. Everybody else is just inconvenient meat that they can use or not use.
So self-love to the harm of others, or the exclusion of others.
Narcissism's not a good trait. Like
so not the same as self-love.
It's not self-love, self-esteem. Those are good things. Narcissism's kind of an ugly thing.
I think just thinking you're really great, like, wow, I love being me. Whenever I think, what if I was someone else? And what if I woke up and I was someone else? I get like, I need to not think of that. Like, I don't want to wake up and be anyone else. I don't know.
I don't want you to do that either.
Well,
I'd spend a lot of time in front of a mirror if I woke up someone else. Really got to do some analysis there.
I used to always think of that as a kid.
All right.
Study lead author Dr. D. Wang author Dr. D. Wang wrote in The Conversation, quote, dark tetrad triads are dark because of their evil qualities.
Every time I hear dark tetrad, I keep thinking of like a gang. It sounds to me like a gang name.
Yep. Says extreme
Did they actually use the
selfishness.
word triad after that? You said dark tetrad triads?
No, sorry.
Because I was going to say triad is
tetrad
definitely
traits.
a gang name, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Dark tetrad traits
Got
are
it.
dark because of their evil qualities. Extreme selfishness and taking advantage of others without empathy.
Yeah, this is one of the most unusual hit pieces against Bitcoin.
I wonder who funded the study. I'd like to know more about the study and who did the study.
Yeah, that's an interesting question here. We'll continue.
They don't use words like evil in studies. That's a very subjective term.
Yeah, and it sounds like they found what they set out to find, and we don't see any evidence of this in the Bitcoin community, at least here in New Hampshire. There's more on the way here. Bonnie, you want to share that with us? Coming up, hour number 2 is on the way as well. You can join us on Free Talk Live. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. Russia's defense ministry says its Moskva warship has sunk in the Black Sea while it was being towed to port. The Moskva was the flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet and has been a key part of the Russian naval assault on Ukrainian forces. Ukraine said it struck the Moskva with missiles, resulting in an explosion, which Russia hasn't confirmed. Earlier, Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby said that there was an explosion aboard the ship.
We do believe that there was a significant explosion on this cruiser, the Moskva, of the Slava class of cruisers in the Russian Navy.
Tesla CEO Elon Musk has offered to buy Twitter for more than $40 billion, saying he will take the social media platform private. The world's richest man, who is also Twitter's largest shareholder, said the company hasn't been living up to its potential to be what he called a platform for free speech around the globe.
Having a public platform that is maximally trusted and broadly inclusive is extremely important to the future of civilization.
In an SEC filing, Musk said he doesn't have confidence in Twitter's management and called his offer to purchase the firm at $54.20 a share his best and final offer. Musk also indicated that if the Twitter board doesn't accept the offer, he would reconsider his recently revealed 9% stake in Twitter, which could send the company's share price tumbling. Video footage has emerged of a white police officer in the U.S. fatally shooting a black man after a traffic stop. The incident has led to protests in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where the shooting occurred. FSN's U.S. correspondent William Denzelo reports.
Body cam footage from the officer shows 26-year-old Patrick Loyola exiting his car following a police traffic stop. He appears confused as to why he was being pulled over and appears to run from the officer a short time after Loyola is asked for his license. Footage shows the two men then fighting over the officer's taser that officials say was fired twice but didn't make contact. Police say the body cam was accidentally switched off during the altercation, but cell phone footage from the passenger in Loyola's car seems to show him then being shot in the back of the head. Officials say it's a tragedy and an investigation is underway. The shooting has sparked protests in Grand Rapids, demanding the officer be fired and face charges.
In other news, the European Central Bank is sticking to plans to conclude its stimulus program in the third quarter of this year. And Frank James, the man on trial for carrying out a mass shooting in the New York City subway this week, which injured 23 people, appeared in court on Thursday. James did not enter a plea and will be held without bail until his trial on federal terror charges. From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. If you've been following either the Russian war against Ukraine or other military developments more broadly, you will have heard a lot of talk recently about hypersonic missiles. Only last week, the US, UK and Australia announced they're joining forces to develop hypersonics, just days after Republicans in the US Congress accused the Biden administration of falling behind Russia and China in the race to acquire them. Over the next couple of days, we're going to look in more detail at hypersonics. Our guide is Jim Lindsay of the US-based Council on Foreign Relations.
Think of two words, speed and maneuverability. Hypersonics are missiles that fly at least 5 times the speed of sound, Mach 5. These missiles basically come in two types, ballistic and cruise missiles. Ballistic missiles, as we normally think of them, intercontinental missiles, are already hypersonic. They travel more than Mach 5. But with a traditional ballistic missile, it is like throwing a baseball. The original launch speed and angle will determine where the missile lands. With a hypersonic missile, it has the added advantage of being able to maneuver upon re-entry. Why are you designing these so-called hypersonic glide vehicles? Because you want to be able to elude missile defenses.
Tomorrow, why hypersonic missiles may make arms control agreements less likely this century than in the last. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main news again. Russia says its Moskva warship has sunk in the Black Sea, and Ukraine says it is the result of a Ukrainian missile strike. Tesla's CEO Elon Musk offers to buy Twitter for more than $40 billion, saying he wants to take the social media platform private. And video footage emerges of a white police officer in the U.S. fatally shooting a black man after a traffic stop. That is the latest feature story news. Ira Spitzer reporting.
A Japanese-American internment facility was still in operation in the mountains of Northern California. The facility should have been closed in 1945 and its 6,000 residents released, but unfortunately the camp was overlooked until this week. I am happy to announce, however, that the remaining 118 detainees have now been fully exonerated of suspicion of spying for General Tojo, and they have been freed. Next item of business. The president will be meeting with the Australian Prime Minister, Kevin Rudd. Yes, Denise?
Huge oversight. How could this have happened?
Well, Denise, it looks like the camp just somehow slipped through the cracks. The end of the Second World War was a hectic time in America, and it's only natural that we let a couple of things slip in our excitement over defeating the Nazis.
Who's going to be held responsible for this? Congressional investigation?
No, there won't. In fact, the War Relocation Authority was responsible for the decommissioning of the internment facilities, but that organization ceased to exist in 1946, so no.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live. It is Free Talk Live, kicking off the second hour here. Phones are open. You can join us at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We're going to talk about the latest order from the federal government. Specifically, it's the Biden administration's ATF cracking down on ghost guns. We mentioned that earlier this week, but Matt says there's something about silencers in this as well, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Of course, your phone calls are welcome about whatever's on your mind at 603-283-6160. It's Ian here.
Matt.
And Bonnie.
Bonnie, you were sharing with us one of the strangest hit pieces against Bitcoin, I have to say, that I've heard. I mean, we've talked about a lot of them over the years here. I mean, there's been no shortage of Bitcoin attack pieces, especially as Bitcoin has become more popular over time. Earlier in its 13-year history, it was easy to ignore it. It was just a technical, experiment. Mm-hmm. And then it became a dollar technical experiment where no one thought it was going to hit $1, and then it hit 100, and then it hit 1,000, and then now it's at $40,000 for one Bitcoin today, and there's no one at this point that can say, oh, it's a fluke. Oh, it's just some geek libertarians. They're never going to get anywhere with this thing. It's made a huge impact financially on the planet.
So they got to get creative with their insults and ways of trying to take it down.
Right. So we've seen them attack it. Oh, it's going to hurt the environment. And, of course, that's a load of garbage. And we've talked about that before. I don't want to rehash it.
I do want to rehash that real quick just for a sec, because one of the things, we were talking about Elon Musk earlier, one of the things that I didn't like about him was I generally don't like it when these famous people talk about crypto, because I never feel like they have any idea what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. And he kind of proved that to me when he started talking about the mining not being green enough for him.
Right, when he said he was going to take Bitcoin, then backed out on it for Tesla because it wasn't green enough.
Earth-friendly or whatever.
I mean, to me, that means he has to know what he's saying isn't true. There's just some reason that he has to hold back because of his company.
Yeah, and then he said, that wasn't that long ago, he said something to the effect of, I've spoken with the miners, and they're looking at ways to make Bitcoin more green.
Yeah, you were in jail.
What miners? Who did you talk to?
The miners. That's so weird.
Well, some of the big ones you can find. They're large companies and they're known entities. But as far as mining pools are concerned, you have no idea who those people are. There was it seemed like a lot of BS with those statements from Elon Musk.
And I worry that people are following the guidance of people like Elon Musk and Mark Cuban and these other mouthpieces who are famous about crypto, because they don't. I don't feel they have any idea what they're talking about. I did watch an interview with Elon Musk last week, and he did go into some depth about the blockchain technology in general, and I was a little bit less apprehensive about him talking about it. He has done a lot of homework.
All right.
Yeah, he's there.
He's not a dumb person.
He's not.
You can figure that out.
And he's a techie at the end of the day. He's a techie. He's not even a car person. He's a techie.
So you've got on the left, they're trying to scare people away from crypto by saying, oh, the environment. And then on the right, they try to scare people away by saying, it's a CIA project. Yep. And there's all these theories, conspiracy theories out there about Bitcoin. So we've heard it all. But I got to say, this is the first time I've ever seen such an all-out attack.
Total bonkers.
On the man, right? This is what would you call it? An ad hominem attack, basically, against the users of cryptocurrency.
But again, they're doing this under the flag of science.
Right. They did a study.
This is a study.
They did a study of 566 people and admitted that not even all of those people were crypto users. Some were interested in crypto and knew what it was.
Right. Well, they they had to do the study in a standard scientific manner, I presume, which means
But I'm
calling
saying
people. So
less than 566 people, and they're saying, "Oh, this is what we found about crypto enthusiasts at large."
What was it? 1 out of 4 had current crypto holdings, and then another 2 out of 4 were interested, I think was what you said, or 2/5 or something?
Something like that.
Yeah. So what else did you want to share from this, Bonnie?
So the article says that crypto users they found were more likely to have these dark tetrad traits. And those are narcissism, Machiavellianism, sadism. Do you remember the other one?
I'm pulling it up here. Psychopathy would be the other one.
Yes. And the study lead, Dr. D. Wang, wrote in The Conversation, which it is linked, so I think that's a magazine or something, quote, dark tetrad traits are dark because of their evil qualities. Extreme selfishness and taking advantage of others without empathy. And Matt said it earlier, it just is the weirdest thing to hear from a scientist in a study. Like, you don't hear people saying, oh, well, we determined that they were evil. Like, that's just strange. It says, quote, the dark tetrad are also often related to risk-taking behaviors. The link between the traits and an affinity for Bitcoin is also driven by the fact that the currency does not have a central authority, meaning it is separate from banks and governments.
So that means that psychopaths would be more likely to, huh?
They just threw that in there and expected you to accept it.
So are they okay? You know, we were always afraid after 9/11 that they were going to go around eventually and start calling Americans terrorists, which of course they have.
Sure.
Now, is that proving to be not a popular thing to do? And are they trying to find a terrorist light word to market? And is it psychopath?
I don't know.
Yeah, because when I think of psychopath, I think of like Dexter, like
who's a character,
killer TV show guy. You know, I think of a mass serial killer shooter or something like that. So,
well, not all. Well, certainly serial killers are likely to probably all be psychopaths, but not all psychopaths are killers.
Exactly. But that's just like
psychopaths are
what
just
you think of.
People who have no empathy, right?
I think so. Yeah,
they have no empathy and no way to relate to other people in that way.
It says Machiavellians who are good at deception and take a calculated approach to achieving goals, like crypto primarily because they distrust politicians and government agencies. That doesn't make sense. If you're a Machiavellianism, you're going to be like that guy, Brody DeShays. You're going to be like, you're going to use the...
yeah, you are going to be a politician if you are a Machiavellian.
Politics.
Great example, in my opinion. Way to go,
He's probably
Bond.
a psychopath.
Yeah, Brody DeShays, by the way, for listeners that don't know, is the guy who was the primary opponent of the New Hampshire Independence Bill that sadly went down in flames earlier this year, and it was his first try, so it's going to come back.
I'll take that back. Yeah, I don't think he's probably a psychopath because I don't know the guy, but I can definitely say he's probably a Machiavellian.
Definitely.
Yeah, well, and again, the difference between a psychopath and a sociopath, it's hard to really even...
It's kind of hard to grasp. We talked about it on a show like a month ago with Arya, and I still couldn't really tell you the difference. He added, many crypto supporters believe governments are corrupt, and crypto avoids government corruption. Oh no, that sounds like a factual statement to me that's provable.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to outline some of the things that are true about cryptocurrency, the fact that it could undermine the state, the banking structures, and empower the individual, and trying to say, oh, well, psychopaths like that. Oh, well, you must be a psychopath if you like the idea of empowering the individual,
right.
Or you must be a Machiavellian, which of course has nothing to do with being
a psychopath,
a manipulative psycho.
You know, the fact is, in my experience, there's a ton of autistic people and people like Asperger, like Aspie people, who love cryptocurrency, and it's interesting they wouldn't want to focus on that as an associated thing with cryptocurrency.
They could prove that.
And they could prove that. And, just...
Yeah, how many autists are Machiavellians?
Right, they're not. And I think it would be really hard for them to cast cryptocurrency in a dark light or in a bad light if everybody that was using it was autistic. That would be like, aw.
The people that seem autistic, that like crypto, they seem to like it because they're so left-brained and they're like, this makes sense, this will help us do this, and they're good people who see how crypto will bring good to the world in a very left-brain this is how it works type of way.
Mm.
I think that's how I think of a autistic person, is like really left brain. I don't know if that's a definition, but the researchers found that narcissists like crypto because of their great faith in the future and confidence that their own lives will improve. Lastly, impulsive psychopaths and sadists like crypto because they are thrill seekers who fear missing out on the rewards of investing. Impulsive psychopaths. What?
That is the worst study I've ever seen in my life.
Yep.
I mean, it would seem to me that anyone can be a thrill seeker. You don't have to have a psychopathic tendency.
And that's coming from the New York Post, which is traditionally not a leftist rag.
More coming up.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Brute force, intransigent defiance, adamantine will. These are the hallmarks of the AI tank. These gigantic machines have the firepower of an army, but they also have their own sense of honor and duty. When the world breakers arrive, battle will be joined, planets will shake, and war and peace will never be the same again. World Breakers. Stories from David Weber, Larry Correia, and more. Available August 3rd from BaneBooks.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Phones are join us here at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Whether you want to talk about Psychopaths, one hit piece in the New York Post alleging that Bitcoiners are more likely to be psychopaths, apparently, which is not backed by any kind of evidence I've ever seen. But with you tonight, it's Ian,
Matt,
and Bonnie.
You can join us online anytime you want. Head over to freetalklive.com. We have a lot of features there. And I do want to thank Ryan Walsh, who is a Free Talk Live supporter of our AMPS Patreon. Ryan is silver level, which means he's doing at least $5 a month and helping us advertise, market, promote, and support Free Talk Live. That's what AMPS stands for. You can go to amps.freetalklive.com, and you can help us out there. It helps spread the message of freedom to as many radio stations as we can possibly do that and bring new internet listeners on board. So if you like what we do here, please go to amps.freetalklive.com. Join Ryan and the rest of the supporters there, amps.freetalklive.com. Let's bring on Nikki in North Georgia, Nikki in Georgia, listening to WGOW. Go ahead in Chattanooga.
Hey, y'all. Bonnie, you were wondering about the difference between a psychopath and a sociopath?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the easiest way to remember is a psychopath doesn't know that he's messing all your stuff up. A sociopath simply doesn't care.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Sociopath is aware of it and is using you and whatever to get his way, whereas you're saying the psychopath may be completely
just doesn't
unaware
understand
of it.
feelings.
Right, because they don't have the grasp of that phenomenon, so they don't even know that they're messing you up. They just know they're doing what they want.
Have you had experience with this professionally?
I have received both diagnoses.
Oh, wow.
Are you a bad person?
I'm a horrible person, and I drink a lot and I smoke a lot to keep it under control.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I think the fact that you sound like you have a little remorse in your voice might actually be an indication to me that maybe you're not quite the psychopath that they
trying to tell you
to be.
Yeah.
I'm working on it. They say both are curable,
really?
And I've turned. Yeah, you can learn empathy the same way you can learn anything.
That's interesting.
That's really cool.
I had not heard that. I mean, I don't follow the developments on psychopathy and studying it very closely, but you always heard that was, you're born that way. 1% of all humans are psychopaths, and that's the end of the story.
You can be born blind, but they can cure that also. It's just a lack that you have that they can fix, or you have to fix in this case. But whatever.
Yeah, 100% behind you. That's great. Continue that journey. Good for you. I have a lot of faith in humankind and what people are capable of. And the hardest part about overcoming obstacles that are just massive is a lot of people refuse to admit that they have obstacles.
Sure.
But once you see them, now you can tackle them.
You put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, do it up.
Climb the mountain.
Nikki, I remember you called in to say that you just love Nobody, and Nobody is one of the
absolutely do.
greatest people ever. So I don't know. I feel like you must not be a psychopath.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I haven't talked to a psychiatrist in like 7 years. I got off hard drugs and started smoking pot and drinking more, and I'm getting better.
Okay, well that's not usually what you hear after someone saying they started drinking, but hey, whatever works for you.
If it gets you off hard drugs.
Tons of booze worked for me.
Alcohol is a hard drug, though. That's the thing.
Yeah,
alcohol is one of the hardest drugs.
Better than methamphetamines, though.
Okay.
Or
yeah,
heroin.
definitely.
Yeah, my brother did the same step down. He stopped doing meth because he just started drinking.
If you're doing it in a moderated way, then I'll say it's better. But I'm
dirt poor. I have to moderate everything.
All right, Nikki. Anything else you want to share tonight?
That's it.
Thanks for the call. I appreciate hearing from you. Thanks for sharing that personal information. That's interesting. I didn't know that about the treatment for psychopathy. I wonder. I didn't want to ask her to tell us what are the exercises that you go through, but I do find myself curious about that because we are watching. You mentioned Bonnie Dexter earlier, the fictional character. And one of the critiques of that character is that, he's a psychopath, so he couldn't possibly develop feelings, right? And sort of, not to give too much away, but the show Dexter is sort of about this character who has an arc over a series of many seasons.
He's told as a kid, you're a psychopath. You're you can't feel anything and you never will be able to. And then you kind of see him start to branch out and realize maybe he can.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the interesting things about the show, besides the fact that he's a blood spatter expert who works for the police and is secretly a murderer who kills bad guys.
I never thought I'd watch that show because I was like, Ian, that's a TV show that mind controls you to be okay with killers, and I think it might have worked on me because I really do like the show.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. All right, so speaking of violence, guns, of course, not always used for violence, sometimes used for target shooting or whatever, but sometimes used in self-defense. Matt, you've got some news about silencers specifically. Earlier this week, Joe Biden announced, touted that he has now banned ghost guns without any kind of act of Congress, in the same way that Donald Trump banned bump stocks. Joe Biden and the ATF have banned so-called ghost guns. Which for listeners,
that's not really what happened either.
It's not, is it?
No.
They banned the business of selling kits that are not serialized.
So all the companies that sell the kits, by the way, the very best one out there, Polymer 80, is owned by a hardcore libertarian dude, arguably an anarcho-capitalist. I don't know how he describes himself, but I know him, and he's definitely. I wish he lived here, but Polymer 80. So they sell. They create these, blanks, basically. And they're 80% finished, and you have to finish them the rest of the way.
Do they sell the other parts too?
They do sell the other parts, and Polymer 80 has stuff like that available, but it's like any manufacturer. Like, you can buy it directly from the manufacturer, but they also work with a lot of retailers. So a lot of times you pick up stuff from the retailers, and the retailers might sell a whole kit of some kind, with all the parts you need.
That is apparently, from what I read, that's what they're really regulating now. They're saying if you sell a gun kit, which previously did not have these requirements, now they're going to have serialized receivers,
right,
etc.
Polymer 80 does make serialized, 100% completed firearms. So you can buy their things completely done, or you can order the 80% version. Now, it apparently, according to this new diktat, it's not a law. It's just
it's a regulation.
It's I don't even know what it takes.
That's what they call it.
Diktat sounds right.
They call it rule.
That's a rule making. Yeah, they're making rules, and they made a new rule.
But yes,
they
totally
also changed a lot of definitions. Apparently, words don't have meaning when you're the ATF.
Yeah, they're calling this a firearm, even though it's a pile of parts.
Right. So now what companies who sell these kits will have to do is send them basically in different shipments. Just send them in different boxes. So you can still, they can't, when you get a Polymer 80 or any 80% completed, say, Glock frame or 80% frame, it comes with a jig and a set of drill bits, and the jig shows you, it clamps around like a clamshells around the pistol grip, and it shows you where to drill the holes. You're not allowed to send that.
If you have a ghost gunner from Defense Distributed, it does the drilling for you.
Yeah. It doesn't even. It just makes hole. It just leaves holes in its wake. But this is a kind of a different type of thing.
They're talking about cracking down. Go ahead.
If you just 3D printed your gun, would it be a ghost gun?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, any gun that has no serial number that you make at home is considered a ghost gun.
Yep.
Whether it be 3D printed completely or built from parts, right?
Right.
All right. More coming up here. You can join us. It's Free Talk Live. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 27th through July 3rd for the 6th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out for the first time in 2021. Fork Fest takes place the week after Pork Fest, but Fork Fest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 27th through July 3rd. There's no better place to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the Forkfest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the Forkfest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there. Forkfest.party.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. Russia's defense ministry says its Moskva warship has sunk in the Black Sea while it was being towed to port. The Moskva was the flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet and has been a key part of the Russian naval assault on Ukrainian forces. Ukraine said it struck the Moskva with missiles, resulting in an explosion, which Russia hasn't confirmed. Earlier, Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby said that there was an explosion aboard the ship.
We do believe that there was a significant explosion on this cruiser, the Moskva, of the Slava class of cruisers in the Russian Navy.
Tesla CEO Elon Musk has offered to buy Twitter for more than $40 billion, saying he will take the social media platform private. The world's richest man, who is also Twitter's largest shareholder, said the company hasn't been living up to its potential to be what he called a platform for free speech around the globe.
Having a public platform that is maximally trusted and broadly inclusive is extremely important to the future of civilization.
In an SEC filing, Musk said he doesn't have confidence in Twitter's management and called his offer to purchase the firm at $54.20 a share his best and final offer. Musk also indicated that if the Twitter board doesn't accept the offer, he would reconsider his recently revealed 9% stake in Twitter, which could send the company's share price tumbling. Video footage has emerged of a white police officer in the U.S. fatally shooting a black man after a traffic stop. The incident has led to protests in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where the shooting occurred. FSN's U.S. correspondent William Denzelo reports.
Body cam footage from the officer shows 26-year-old Patrick Loyoya exiting his car following a police traffic stop. He appears confused as to why he was being pulled over and appears to run from the officer a short time after Loyoya is asked for his license. Footage shows the two men then fighting over the officer's taser that officials say was fired twice but didn't make contact. Police say the body cam was accidentally switched off during the altercation, but cell phone footage from the passenger in Loyoya's car seems to show him then being shot in the back of the head. Officials say it's a tragedy and an investigation is underway. The shooting has sparked protests in Grand Rapids, demanding the officer be fired and face charges.
In other news, the European Central Bank is sticking to plans to conclude its stimulus program in the third quarter of this year. And Frank James, the man on trial for carrying out a mass shooting in the New York City subway this week, which injured 23 people, appeared in court on Thursday. James did not enter a plea and will be held without bail until his trial on federal terror charges. From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Phones are open. You can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's Ian,
Matt,
and Bonnie.
They're going after the ghost guns, or at least they're trying to, with a new quote-unquote rule making that has been put into place with the ATF. We talked about it earlier this week, but Matt's our resident gun guy, so figured we'd bring it back up again and get his position on this.
You're saying, so we can't really, it's hard to say, we can only go so far into it at this point. On one level, it seems like a big nothing burger. On another, it doesn't seem like a big nothing burger. On another level, it seems like it's actually freed some things up that are very significant.
How's that?
Well, they put in some verbiage about silencers.
Okay.
And mind you, this document's like 300 plus pages long, so nobody's really...
This quote-unquote rule-making?
Yeah. So it's really, who knows what else is in it. But there's one part about silencers. Okay, so they want silencers to all have serial numbers on the tube. Whereas before you might find them on the end caps or something like that. So now they have to be on the tube. Fine, whatever. Most of them have them there anyway as a default. But they have defined a silencer as a device to attach to the end of a gun to quiet the exit of the projectile. That is not what silencers do.
They quiet the sound of the crack, right?
They silence the what makes the crack sound isn't the projectile.
Explosion.
It is the exhaust gases that follow it, which are going supersonic. That's the big noise you hear. So that's what carries the most mass. That's what makes the very, very loud noise, and that is what the silencer silences. So that said, did they just legalize silencers and take them off the NFA?
By redefining it?
By redefining what they do?
Maybe it was an accident. They're going to realize what they did and put in the real definition.
Rewrite it. So there's a few people taking a close look at that and saying, can we just make and buy silencers now
without having to register,
without having to,
get a special permit?
You can in New Hampshire, right?
No, they're federally regulated.
Not until we secede from the United States.
Or, there are states that have put up legislation to keep the feds off of anything made and remaining in the state that they're in.
Wyoming's one of those states, right?
Yeah, Wyoming.
Does
Montana
that include silencers?
I think so. That does not mean that the feds aren't going to come after you there
and ruin
for
your
them
life.
and ruin your life. They're absolutely horrible animals. They're not. They're arguably not people. They're not. That's not how people act. They'll still come after you wherever you go, no matter what the state law says, because the feds don't recognize states. They don't recognize states' rights. They're the kings.
They certainly don't recognize human rights.
No, they are the owners of people. They are the bosses. So
Bonnie and I saw that today when we were at the court in Concord, federal court, which is a lot like a church, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Very creepy, kind of churchy building.
It's a lot like a morgue also.
Yeah.
It's like all metal doors that are as tall as the ceilings. It's really ugly and creepy.
I've said before that governments are just religions that worship death and destruction.
Absolutely.
That describes that building perfectly.
Yeah, we were in there for a plea deal hearing, not for me, but for Renee, one of the members of the Crypto Six, who sadly she and her husband Andy are taking the plea offers in the case, and I understand why they do it, because the government is a scary group of people who try to intimidate people, and they intimidate you by saying, all right, well, you're already facing this amount of time, and we're going to give you more charges unless you take the deal. And so that's what happened today, sadly.
I didn't stand for a federal judge, and I've not stood for 3 different types of judge.
Nice.
Mood, contempt.
Very nice. So what else do we need to know about this?
Nothing so far. If I can find out anything else about what's going on, that and the 80% lowers aren't allowed to be shipped with the jig and the parts to build it up. They have to come
to buy it all separately.
You have to buy it in 2 separate. So you could buy it all at the same place. They just have to ship it in 2 separate boxes, apparently.
So I did just find an update on this situation published today at thehill.com. Ted Cruz says he will be introducing a resolution which would block the Justice Department regulation. Apparently, a Congressional Review Act allows Congress to try to overturn an administrative rule with only a simple majority vote if it's within a certain time frame. Biden could still veto the resolution disapproving the rule, which would also need to pass the House. So the odds that it's going to do anything,
not going to happen.
It's just total signaling on the part of
Ted Cruz,
of these politicians. But there you go. Apparently, quote, by introducing this resolution, we're pushing back. We want to stop the false narrative that links the rise in crime to ghost guns and firearms, and we want to protect law-abiding citizens who are exercising their Second Amendment rights.
Yeah, another thing, you got to remember this also would impact 3D printed guns, and nobody's going to know. And just like with the 80% guns, nobody knows about them. They're off the books, right?
Yeah.
So, but with the 80% and the 3D printed guns, the 3D printed guns can be pretty wonky as far as their durability from what I've seen. But if you ever tried to sell one or take it to a gun shop,
then it would have to be serialized.
Yeah,
right?
the FFL is going to require that it gets serialized, so they're going to have to find a way. This FFL is going to have to find a way to jimmy a metal plate onto this piece of plastic. And
I was going to ask, are they all printed out of plastic only? You can't print metal?
You can. There is such a thing as laser sintering or metal sintering, and it's extremely cost prohibitive to do. There is such a thing as metal 3D printing, but that is not something that
you can't just buy one of those.
Yeah, we can't just get a maker bot that does steel.
But you can just make a whole gun out of plastic, and
you can. Yeah,
that's crazy. Like I feel like one explosion, it would just break.
Well, you can make a gun completely out of plastic. The Liberator was the proof of concept for that,
and it was known for breaking after like one shot. It got really dangerous to use it after that first shot.
You don't really want to mess with it. You want to print several barrels. The barrel snapped in and out, and you could just pop a new barrel into it.
But they're starting to make hardcore ones now,
They
right?
really are, and the reality is, like with an 80%, even if you're printing a 3D printed lower, there's no stress. There's no explosive stress on a lot of parts of a gun, including the receiver. So most of the explosive forces are being contained by the chamber of the barrel.
And do people make that part out of metal?
Yeah, well, you just buy a barrel.
Oh.
Or you can do, there's people who go to Home Depot and buy, plumbing pipe and things like that will hold a 12-gauge shell perfectly. You can make a makeshift shotgun out of a piece of pipe from Home Depot, and that generally won't wear out. But shotgun shells aren't really working with the same explosive forces as like a 5.56 round.
Just to be clear, a regular 3D printed gun, an average one, is most likely going to be printed out of most of its plastic, but the explosive parts are metal.
Yeah.
Okay, because I've always wondered that.
I don't know. I think there's different.
You could print the frame. And it would look just like a Glock frame, and then you can put all the Glock pieces into it and put the Glock slide on it. But it's really just they call it a receiver because it's the holder for the rest of the stuff.
Receives the other parts. Yeah. Biden announced he would be banning unlicensed kits to manufacture so-called ghost guns as part of his efforts to crack down on the proliferation of untraceable firearms. It's a ban on the buy, build, shoot kits that people can purchase online or at a store without a background check. Now they're calling those firearms, and as a result, commercial manufacturers of them must be licensed. The products must include serial numbers, and sellers must conduct a background check prior to a sale. You're saying, Matt, you think that these sellers will be able to get around that by simply selling different things.
It's just a collection of parts.
In parts. But this is going to make things more of a pain. It's going to mean more hoop jumping and so on.
Just something for Joe Biden to be like, look, I did something.
I did a thing.
Yeah. Cruz said that this administration is trying to create a permanent national gun registry.
They definitely are.
And that's because they're going to require dealers to retain records until they shut down their business or license activity. There's more coming up here in moments. If you want to weigh in on the new gun restrictions or the so-called ghost gun restrictions, you're welcome to join us on Free Talk Live.
The Shire Free Church offers a sanctuary to those seeking an escape from state churches.
The Shire Free Church is an interfaith, diverse group of people that may not share identical theological beliefs. As a member in or minister of the Shire Free Church, you are a sovereign individual and may be the faith of your choice.
We don't claim to have all of the answers.
We are open to all peaceful people.
We want to learn from each other.
What unifies the Shire Free Church and its diverse members is peace,
love, and liberty. There are many paths to God, one for every individual.
The Shire Free Church does not define a specific path beyond those parameters that must be your foundation.
Peace as your way,
love as your guide,
and liberty as your light.
Learn more at church.shiresociety.com.
That's church.shiresociety.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live listen line, 641-793-0191. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, and the phones are open here. You can join the show at 603-283-6160. Coming up, the El Salvador government gang going after other gangs, supposedly, and destroying whatever civil liberties might have existed there in the process.
You got me excited for a second because I thought you meant going after other governments.
No. Other competing gangs within the area known as El Salvador. We can talk about that. But the phones are also open here. It is Ian, Matt, and Bonnie in the studio. Don't forget, you can join us online anytime you want. Just head over to freetalklive.com. We do have our social media site. And you don't have to pay billions of dollars to be a part of our site. It's free. You just go to social.freetalklive.com and you can interact with other Free Talk Live listeners and some of the hosts of the show there. And it is a Mastodon-based system, which means it is self-hosted, open source, federated. That means it's connected to basically all the other Mastodons out there, except for Donald Trump's. He's disconnected his Mastodon from the rest of the world. But head on over to social.freetalklive.com. We go to your calls. Dan in Nebraska, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead, Dan.
Hey, guys. I heard, towards the end of that last segment, you guys speculating on the motivation Biden might have for these new restrictions on ghost guns. And I think that one part of this that is inevitable is that the emergence of 3D printing and stuff like that, I think, really upset what I think was a good consensus on guns in this country, and it created a problem. So, I don't.
What was the consensus?
And what was the problem?
Well, I think we were moving closer towards a consensus that we were okay with, people having guns and stuff, but, obviously we want to be keeping an eye on everything for the most part. And
when you say we, you mean the United States government?
Yes.
Do you work for them?
In a way. No. But I mean, I'm represented by them. So I mean.
Oh, you are okay.
You hired them.
You're one of the
you.
ones. Okay, got it.
And Yeah, I mean, I don't see how.
By the way, before you go on, I just want to say I don't think there's ever been a consensus for those people who believe in the right to defend oneself, the right to bear arms.
Yeah, I can do that if I want.
I don't think the consensus has been that they want to be eyeballed by a bunch of bureaucrats.
I'm not going to ask anybody's permission to defend myself.
What do you mean? There are millions of people who are on the other side of the whole gun debate than you guys.
Their opinion does not matter to me.
That's not the definition of a consensus.
I'm going to defend myself whether they've come to some consensus or not.
Wouldn't a consensus mean that everyone is basically in agreement?
I don't care about herd think whatsoever.
That's a good point.
Having where society is manifest in the laws, I think that's a pretty reasonable ask. No, it's just having the views that people in society generally have represented in the law. I think that's a pretty reasonable ask.
Not to the minority.
Ghost guns get invented. There needs to be an answer to that. Okay, the people on the other side, they need an answer to that whole
Dan doesn't
problem.
support rights. He doesn't believe in them.
I support rights.
No,
I do support rights, but sure I do.
Well, you can say that, but it's clear that you don't support the right to bear arms, for instance.
Well, does I support it as a right to a certain degree, Like
you don't understand what a right is.
That's not that rights are not hindered. Aren't rightfully hindered. A right is a right. There is no cap on a right. It's
not a negotiation.
There's nothing to negotiate on a right. It's a right.
I'm pretty much all of the rights that are guaranteed in the Constitution are qualified in some way by a certain reasonable.
No, they're impeded on by a government.
We don't get our rights from the Constitution. The Constitution is a human writing. It's something that was an enumeration of rights. They counted the rights, but anything that they put in there to stifle a right was, A, expected because it was written by politicians, and B, they didn't really do a whole lot of that, 250 years ago when they were writing the Constitution. It's pretty open. A right is a right. There's no qualifiers for rights. It's a right.
What? No. I mean, back then they also had they had questions about how to interpret rights, just like we do today, and they had some of the highest judges in the land look over things like the Alien and Sedition Act, and they said, that doesn't violate.
You're making my point.
Doesn't violate your. No. I'm not saying that was a good act. It's just that we have in the past interpreted things in certain ways before.
Yeah, I know. I didn't think you were saying that was a good thing. I'm saying you're making my point that the government, not we or they, the government in the times where the Constitution was made was impeding on people's rights. The rights are given to people just by virtue of being a human being. It's called natural law.
And you're right that, the 3D printing thing has really, created a consensus, because the consensus of the masses is that free speech is important, and there are files out there with how to print a gun in them, and people will push the button and print a gun whether they want to or not. So the whole gun rights, gun control argument is laid completely to rest because it's absolutely unenforceable. If you take guns off the street, some nerd's going to push a button and make a brand new one. Or some other nerd who isn't that technologically advanced is going to walk into Home Depot and buy some pipe and some 2x4s and a finishing nail. And
yeah, I don't know why that would be legal. I don't know why we should want that to be legal.
Why not?
That just sounds.
So you admitted you don't believe in rights.
Yeah, he believes in permission. He believes in converting a right.
You can have a firearm.
Just ask permission first, right?
Totally banned.
I have bad news.
I don't think that's a horrible act.
Well, that's the thing.
I don't think
you have converted by asking for permission. You're converting a right into a privilege, and those are two completely different concepts.
No, you have a right to vote, but you still have to register for it, and there are certain.
That's
things
not
that
the
can
same
take
thing
that
at
right
all.
away.
That's a load of garbage to say a right to vote is somehow tantamount to the right to bear arms.
It's like saying you have the right to say what you want to say, but you should talk to a special department of government before you actually go ahead and say it. They need to issue you the go-ahead before you say the words.
Yeah, voting is simply a control mechanism supposedly within a system run by the government gang, and that is a thing that you can play with or not. You can live your life just fine with or without the so-called right to vote. But when it comes to protecting yourself and protecting your loved ones, you shouldn't have to ask anyone's permission to do that, Dan.
Yeah, voting isn't a natural right.
Well, no. Okay, well,
Dan.
I guess, you know what? I think we have a fundamental disagreement.
Yes,
we have principles, and you don't. You're a utilitarian.
No, I have principles
utilitarian.
No, being a utilitarian is principle.
It's the lack of principles. It's I will do anything to get what I want as long as it gets me what I want. Principles means I will always do it this way. No matter what the outcome is, I will always do it this way. I will always believe this.
Why can't valuing the good and the manifestation of the good
because everybody has a different opinion on what the good is.
And value isn't the same thing as a principle. A value is a different thing. Like you might value love, but you have a different you can have different principles, and you can think that it will get you the same place, but it doesn't it's not the same as having principles.
You cannot take away chunks of my life because you don't think that they are good.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are good.
Thanks, Dan, for the call tonight. Sounds like we've given him something to think about there. The number is 603-283-6160. That's the problem with people with that position is they have their opinion about good, and they're willing to back their opinion about what is good with violence.
With violence.
And they are willing to hurt as many people as is necessary to create the world that they believe is a good world. But again, the question becomes, who decides what is good? In the case of Dan, it's the people in the state who, by all evidence that we've seen, are in no way good people whatsoever. I mean, we see them destroying people's lives. We see them destroying innocent people all around the planet, the Middle East, for instance. We see what's happening with the U.S. prison system, putting peaceful people like Ross Ulbricht behind bars. Our friend Renee may be facing some jail time for a completely victimless so-called crime that they threatened her with.
In the context of guns, what happened to Matt? They used Matt owning guns legally as an excuse to break down our doors and windows.
They brought an army. They literally brought 2 platoons.
And forced him to live with his guns in a storage unit.
That's right. Because they're quote-unquote good. I don't buy it for a moment. I don't trust their judgment.
Those are not good people.
There's more coming up here in moments. Hour 3's on the way. It's Free Talk Live. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. Russia's defense ministry says its Moskva warship has sunk in the Black Sea while it was being towed to port. The Moskva was the flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet and has been a key part of the Russian naval assault on Ukrainian forces. Ukraine said it struck the Moskva with missiles, resulting in an explosion, which Russia hasn't confirmed. Earlier, Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby said that there was an explosion aboard the ship.
We cannot confirm the Ukrainian reports that it was hit by a missile, but we are also not in a position to refute that it could have been a Ukrainian missile which struck the ship. We just don't have perfect visibility on exactly what happened. We do believe that there was a significant explosion on this cruiser, the Moskva, of the Slava class of cruisers in the Russian Navy. We do believe that that explosion caused a significant fire.
Video footage has emerged of a white police officer in the U.S. fatally shooting a black man after a traffic stop. The incident has led to protests in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where the shooting occurred. FSN's U.S. correspondent William Denzelo reports.
Body cam footage from the officer shows 26-year-old Patrick Loyola exiting his car following a police traffic stop. He appears confused as to why he was being pulled over and appears to run from the officer a short time after Loyola is asked for his license. Footage shows the two men then fighting over the officer's taser that officials say was fired twice but didn't make contact. Police say the body cam was accidentally switched off during the altercation, but cell phone footage from the passenger in Loyola's car seems to show him then being shot in the back of the head. Officials say it's a tragedy and an investigation is underway. The shooting has sparked protests in Grand Rapids, demanding the officer be fired and face charges.
The S&P 500 is reporting a losing week as investors consider mixed earnings results from major banks and rising inflation. FSN's Rachel Silverman has this market report from San Francisco.
The big news on Wall Street, Elon Musk's offer to buy Twitter for $54.20 a share. The social media company's shares initially popping, then dropping on the news, while Tesla shares dipped more than 3%. Overall, the S&P 500 dropped more than 1%, the Nasdaq lost 2%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 0.1%. Tech shares dropped as yields on the benchmark U.S. Treasury note climbed higher, and rising prices are fueling talk about whether the Fed will raise rates. Major banks, including Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and Wells Fargo, posted their first quarter earnings with mixed results. Investors are watching how the banks navigate surging inflation as earnings season goes into full swing next week.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. If you've been following either the Russian war against Ukraine or other military developments more broadly, you will have heard a lot of talk recently about hypersonic missiles. Only last week, the US, UK and Australia announced they're joining forces to develop hypersonics, just days after Republicans in the US Congress accused the Biden administration of falling behind Russia and China in the race to acquire them. Over the next couple of days, we're going to look in more detail at hypersonics. Our guide is Jim Lindsay of the US-based Council on Foreign Relations.
Think of two words, speed and maneuverability. Hypersonics are missiles that fly at least 5 times the speed of sound, Mach 5. These missiles basically come in two types, ballistic and cruise missiles. Ballistic missiles, as we normally think of them, intercontinental missiles, are already hypersonic. They travel more than Mach 5, but with a traditional traditional ballistic missile, it is like throwing a baseball. The original launch speed and angle will determine where the missile lands. With a hypersonic missile, it has the added advantage of being able to maneuver upon re-entry. Why are you designing these so-called hypersonic glide vehicles? Because you want to be able to elude missile defenses.
Tomorrow, why hypersonic missiles may make arms control agreements less likely this century than in the last. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main news again. Russia says its Moskva warship has sunk in the Black Sea, and Ukraine says it is the result of a Ukrainian missile strike. Video footage emerges of a white police officer in the U.S. fatally shooting a black man after a traffic stop. And the S&P reports a losing week as investors consider mixed earnings results from major banks and rising inflation. That is the latest Feature Story News. Ira Spitzer reporting.
Turning to health news, doctors at Johns Hopkins Medical School have discovered that bones are the coolest part of the body. The 10-year study found that although the body has many cool things in it, nothing is cooler than your skeleton.
Just think about it. You have this soft, fleshy body, but inside of it, there's a second, tinier body that's made out of a super hard rock. Our data is conclusive. Bones are very, very cool.
To conduct the study, researchers examined every single body part and determined how cool or uncool it was.
We initially thought the brain might be the coolest part because it's like a computer that runs on food. But when we looked at it up close, it was all gross and wrinkled. Brains are not cool. Bones are cool.
Doctors discovered that there are big, strong bones like baseball bats in your arms and legs, hand bones that look like a monster claw, and skull bones that make a scary face. Doctors did caution that as cool as human bones are, they're not nearly as cool as dinosaur bones.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Phones are open. You can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's Ian,
Matt,
and Bonnie.
You can bring up whatever is on your mind here, whether you want to discuss Elon Musk and his offer to purchase the company of Twitter and turn it into a private stock company rather than its current status, which is a publicly traded company. He did say something. I was just kind of reviewing his tweets, and he responded to someone saying that he does plan on keeping private shares when the thing goes private. If he gets the deal and the thing goes private, he does plan on keeping private shareholders. So he says to the maximum extent allowable by law, and I don't know what the differences are on that or whatever. But
wait, what does that mean? There are people right now that are private shareholders?
No.
Oh.
So when you take a company public, it then becomes anybody in the world can buy it. They don't have to ask permission first, whereas a private company, you can still sell shares in a private company. It's just you get to approve who the shareholders are.
But you said he's going to keep private shareholders. So what does that mean?
That's what I meant. What I meant by that is he's going to have shareholders still with a private Twitter. He's still going to allow people to have shares in his company. That's the idea. How many of them, I don't know. I don't know what the rules are on how many you can have or what those limits might be.
No idea. I know that if you are going to buy more than 5% of a publicly traded company, you have to declare it.
Right. Yeah, and he did that last week or whatever. So going outside of the United States here, you can comment on that. We talked about ghost guns and Bitcoin and psychopaths. But El Salvador, this is a story from MSN.com and reporting actually the New York Times on Nayib Bukele, who we've had some commentary on here. He's the president of El Salvador. He's this guy. He wears a backwards baseball cap. He's 40 or 41 years old, so relatively young for a president of a nation. And he's supposedly this like real hip Bitcoin guy. Well, guess what? He's also an authoritarian.
Whoa, shocker.
Psycho.
What? He's a politician?
Yeah, here's what happened. The most recent thing. After a dramatic spike in killings over a single weekend last month, Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele's reaction was swift and extreme. He sent soldiers into poor neighborhoods to round up thousands of people who he claimed were gang members, then paraded them in front of news cameras in their underwear and handcuffs. He tweeted pictures of detainees who had been bruised and bloodied by his security forces, suggesting that they, quote, maybe fell, unquote, or, quote, were eating fries with ketchup, unquote.
What?
They were bloody.
Yeah. I'm just saying, what's wrong with this guy?
And he started feeding the nation's prisoners 2 meals a day instead of 3, warning that if violence continued, quote, I swear to God, they won't eat a single grain of rice.
So
unquote.
all prisoners, not even just the gang members?
Yep. And there's
alleged gang members.
There's a lot of people in these prisons, by the way. It's one of these southern, Central American, South American countries that is known for overpopulated prison facilities where you've got I was looking at stories about this last week. You've got 90 people in a cell designed for 30. One of those kind of situations, like severe overcrowding, and they literally just added thousands more in one fell swoop. It's a distinct look for Bukele, who's been focused in recent months on presenting himself to the world as a modern tech innovator on a quest to turn El Salvador into a cryptocurrency paradise. Not only is he now embracing the mano duro techniques of past Latin American leaders, he is going much further, using the homicide spree, which left 87 people dead in 3 days, as a pretext for suspending civil liberties and attacking the press.
Wait. Sorry, the homicide spree that left 87 people dead in 3 days. Who did that?
The ostensible gang members.
So, okay.
Could it just be that the government did that so that he could crack down on civil liberties? I mean, false flags are a thing.
Absolutely. So. In recent days, Bukele and his loyalists in the Legislative Assembly ordered a state of emergency. We all know what that means. It means they do whatever they want.
Yep.
Right. That restricts freedom of association, suspends the norm that detainees be informed of their rights at the moment of arrest, and denies prisoners access to lawyers. Suspects can now be held for 15 days without any charges instead of the previous restriction of 72 hours, meaning the vast majority of the recent arrestees haven't even seen a judge. Congress also authorized prison sentences of up to 15 years for news outlets that disseminate messages from the gangs, a vaguely worded statute that press freedom activists fear Bukele will use to crack down on his media critics. And remember, we've talked about Bukele before in reference to what happened surrounding the legal tender status of Bitcoin in the country, where right around the time when that law was being put into effect, he went and he snatched up one of his critics with a police contingent that decided to arrest this man basically for no reason whatsoever. They ended up turning him loose because they didn't really have anything to charge him with, but just to try to intimidate one of the critics of the Bitcoin bill. They just arrested him and trumped up a bunch of, a waste of his time, essentially.
He's Bitcoining wrong.
He sure is. Ruth Lopez, the anti-corruption director at the Central American human rights organization Cristasal, she says the rise in homicides shouldn't be a justification for the total suspension of rights. Since he took office in 2019, Bukele and his congressional allies have steadily amassed more power. They've seized control of the Supreme Court, and which we've talked about that before with Bukele. We were aware of that situation that happened, I believe, before the Bitcoin thing. That was one of the things that some of the critics who, when this dude was getting all this attention from Bitcoiners, like, oh, a politician, he really likes us. This politician likes us. Somebody pointed out, yeah, this dude stacked the Supreme Court with his people so he could get a second term in office because they previously had term limits on the president in El Salvador of 1 term. Not anymore. And so that was one example given of why this guy is bad news, and now there are more. He replaced the attorney general with one of his allies and removed hundreds of prosecutors and lower court judges, a purge that Human Rights Watch has said left, quote, virtually no independent institutions capable of overseeing the executive branch. So whatever checks and balances they'd had in El Salvador, he's wiping them out. Bukele would use the spate of homicides as a pretext to further consolidate power is no surprise to his critics, who believe he may be preparing to stay in office past 2024 when he's supposed to step down, even though El Salvador's constitution bans consecutive presidential terms. But they also say there may be another motive for his new tough-on-crime stance, diverting attention from the deepening failure of his cryptocurrency experiment. And I don't know if they mentioned it in this story, but he was supposed to appear at the Bitcoin convention that just happened in Miami last week. There's this huge Bitcoin Miami thing that went on. I don't know how many thousands of people were attending this, but it was a huge thing. He was expected to speak there. He spoke there last year when he announced the Bitcoin legal tender thing. That was where he kind of revealed that. And so he's supposed to come back, right? Like give us an update, or there was some sort of thing that he was going to announce about the Bitcoin, what was it called? The Bitcoin City that they're going to be building down there. I don't know what they call it. There's another name for it, but that he didn't show up. He actually sent a notice saying that he had to deal with something in El Salvador that needed his attention.
They had a new president, dictator things.
He wasn't clear on what exactly that was, but it was at the same time that they were making these arrests. So I guess the suggestion was that, oh, well, you know, there's all these really important arrests that I have to be involved in, even though he's the president. Obviously, he's not going to be doing that.
Did he cancel like the day of that he was supposed to be there, or
pretty close? Like right before the event started, he sent notice he wasn't going to be able to make it. Didn't even bother to like make a recorded statement, from what I understand. Just sent a letter. So maybe they're right here saying that he's trying to divert attention from what they're calling failure of his cryptocurrency experiment.
When you try to centrally control something that is not designed to be centrally controlled, you're going to have problems.
What are you saying? The Bitcoin crypto?
He's forcing people to take it as the national currency.
And use his app and...
Yeah, it's
they have a government app, and he could force people. It is in the law that they could, but they haven't supposedly been doing that. Right. But that could change. Yeah. There's more coming up here at 603-283-6160. More on the crackdown on human rights in El Salvador, and you can share your thoughts on Free Talk Live.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
When Monster Hunter International discovers one of Isaac Newton's wardstones being auctioned off, they decide to steal it and use it to destroy the Chaos God once and for all. But a mysterious thief upends their plan, and it soon becomes a race against time as something much older and infinitely more evil awakens in the jungles of South America. Monster Hunter Bloodlines by New York Times bestselling author Larry Correia and Baen Books. Visit monsterhunternation.com for more.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Phones open. You can join us here, 603-283-6160. We're talking about the tyrant in El Salvador who wants all the Bitcoiners to think he's a real cool guy. Well,
he's not.
If he thinks you're in a gang, you get arrested and don't have access to a lawyer. You have up to 15 days that you can be held without charges now under these the new state of emergency. And they're also rewording some legislation that may allow people in news media to be punished if they can accuse them of, quote, disseminating messages from the gangs, unquote. We'll tell you more about this here in moments. Again, Ian, Matt, and Bonnie with you. We're going to go to the phones and your calls and thoughts. Bad Slave is on the line here. Bad Slave, you're on Free Talk Live, calling from New Hampshire.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
I'm really glad to hear that. One of the things I wanted to bring up was Mark and his ZA whatever program.
ZA stands for Special Economic Zone.
And I think, it's the guy who's running El Salvador is the same kind of tin pot, dictator that would be running, was it Guatemala?
Honduras.
You're saying Mark is a tin pot dictator, and that's what he wants?
No, the one that's running Honduras is what he's saying, which is where Mark wants to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Mark wants to go to an island that is north of Honduras, but technically still part of Honduras. But I guess his idea is that it's far enough away from the mainland to where the mainland won't be a problem, that there's like no cops or anything like that. So he thinks they're going to leave him alone.
Ha!
I kind of have the same exact reaction. Bad Slave. I don't do that on the air, but when I talk to Mark in person, what I say is, "Ha!"
Yeah, I'm skeptical.
Yeah, hard pass.
I mean, it's just silly, and there he is advertising, more than once or twice even, during a program, I think probably redirects a few people who might be good Liberty people here in the Free State Project, and I'm just not pleased.
There's always an outside. Who would have thought the Free State Project would have had any effect in New Hampshire a long time ago? So, and it has significantly. And
I thought it would. That's why I moved here.
Right. A lot of people looking inside from the outside said, that's lunacy. That's never going to work. But clearly it has. And there's a bunch of people who did, you and I included, Bonnie. And but so you never know. Wacko bird ideas sometimes grab, and all you need is a lot of belief that it's going to work and putting in the sweat equity. And Mark Edge is the kind of person who can do that type of stuff. So we'll see.
Go ahead, Bad Slave.
Well, I was just going to say that, I moved in 1991, And, I had a small, cabal of liberty folk that I, was connecting with, starting out with Jack Shimmick back in the day. And, one of the things that Jack did was he made a trip down to, what's a little tiny Central American country there?
There's a ton of them.
One that speaks English.
The one that starts with
Panama.
a B. I'm forgetting the name.
Anyway.
Belize?
Belize. Thank you, Bonnie.
Belize.
Yeah.
There's the town.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually drove his old Mercedes all the way from New Hampshire to Belize and spent a couple of months down there or something like that. But he's still here. And I just Mark is in a fantasy world with regards to the ZAs. I'm just I'm just disappointed. I've always really, really liked Mark. I've known him for almost as long as you guys have shown up. And I just like, what's the matter with Mark? I mean, there's a lot of people that just can't stay in one place or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've never gotten that feeling from Mark. He never really seemed to be that sort of flighty butterfly type. But that said, I understand where you're coming from. Bonnie, were you trying to say something there?
Well, first I wanted to ask Bad Slave, where did you move from? I always thought you were a native.
I moved just over the border. I was up in the Worcester area in
Massachusetts.
And I also wanted to say I really like Mark too, and I wish he would just wanted to stay in New Hampshire, but I think his thing is that our studios keep getting raided by the FBI, and the idea of you and all your friends going to jail just because you believe in free speech is a scary thing, so he's trying to think of a solution.
That's valid.
Yeah.
Well, it is valid, and to me, I think there's plenty within our own general court here in New Hampshire that can be done about just completely taking the legs out from under any federal enforcement activity.
Well, I mean, I definitely appreciate your optimism there, but we saw what happened with the first crack at an independence
it's the first
piece
crack.
of legislation. Yeah, it was the first crack. There were only 13 people that voted for it. But the thing is, Mark's in a rush, right? Like, he feels like he's getting older and time's running out for him, and he feels like he needs to do something now to achieve more freedom. I get where he's coming from. I understand his frustration. I don't agree with his conclusions that he's made. I don't think he gave the Free State Project enough time, honestly. I think he expected way too much out of it too soon. But to be honest, or to be fair to Mark, he would never have moved here if Free Talk Live hadn't moved here. I mean, he only moved here because he followed the show up here. He never would have come up here on his own volition. So as much as he's a likable guy and everybody, people like Mark, he just wasn't really the right person for this movement in the first place. So he didn't have what it took.
But I think it's pretty negative to try to interfere with other people.
Well, I don't think he's interfering. I mean, he's competing, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with competition.
Well, he's always putting us down.
He's doing that less now. He's doing less put downs. He's focusing more on, I think, building a thing now, and that's a good thing. I think he's finally figured out what he wants to do. He spent the last half decade looking around the world and traveling to different places and trying to choose where he wanted to end up. And honestly, Bad Slave, I don't think it's a big threat to the Free State Project. I understand your concerns about that. You don't want him to siphon off some activists. But
I don't think that's likely.
I don't think he's likely to get many people to move down to a small island with less than 2,000 or 3,000 people on it. There's, not even a grocery store.
The people who he does aren't going to be the people who would have moved to New Hampshire that has 4 seasons.
Right. That's the point that I wanted to make on that. And thank you, Bad Slave, for the call. The people that are likely to come to New Hampshire are not going to be interested, I don't think, most of them, in moving to this very small island in the middle of
It might be great for
nowhere.
Liberty people who love the tropics or
And a
whatever.
small community, very small. 'cause
If you have the ability to work from home and you want to live in a very, very small place, then maybe you want to go there. If you want to join the largest movement, you want to be here.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. Russia's defense ministry says its Moskva warship has sunk in the Black Sea while it was being towed to port. The Moskva was the flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet and has been a key part of the Russian naval assault on Ukrainian forces. Ukraine said it struck the Moskva with missiles, resulting in an explosion, which Russia hasn't confirmed. Earlier, Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby said that there was an explosion aboard the ship.
We cannot confirm the Ukrainian reports that it was hit by a missile, but we are also not in a position to refute that it could have been a Ukrainian missile which struck the ship. We just don't have perfect visibility on exactly what happened. We do believe that there was a significant explosion on this cruiser, the Moskva, of the Slava class of cruisers in the Russian Navy. We do believe that that explosion caused a significant fire.
Video footage has emerged of a white police officer in the U.S. fatally shooting a black man after a traffic stop. The incident has led to protests in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where the shooting occurred. FSN's U.S. correspondent William Denzelo reports.
Body cam footage from the officer shows 26-year-old Patrick Loyola exiting his car following a police traffic stop. He appears confused as to why he was being pulled over and appears to run from the officer a short time after Loyola is asked for his license. Footage shows the two men then fighting over the officer's taser that officials say was fired twice but didn't make contact. Police say the body cam was accidentally switched off during the altercation, but cell phone footage from the passenger in Loyola's car seems to show him then being shot in the back of the head. Officials say it's a tragedy and an investigation is underway. The shooting has sparked protests in Grand Rapids, demanding the officer be fired and face charges.
The S&P 500 is reporting a losing week as investors consider mixed earnings results from major banks and rising inflation. FSN's Rachel Silverman has this market report from San Francisco.
The big news on Wall Street, Elon Musk's offer to buy Twitter for $54.20 a share. The social media company's shares initially popping, then dropping on the news, while Tesla shares dipped more than 3%. Overall, the S&P 500 dropped more than 1%, the Nasdaq lost 2%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 0.1%. Tech shares dropped as yields on the benchmark U.S. Treasury note climbed higher, and rising prices are fueling talk about whether the Fed will raise rates. Major banks, including Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and Wells Fargo, posted their first quarter earnings with mixed results. Investors are watching how the banks navigate surging inflation as earnings season goes into full swing next week.
From Bureaus Worldwide.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live. The phones are open here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here tonight, you've got Ian,
Matt,
and Bonnie.
We're going to get back into the story here about El Salvador. Did you guys feel like you said everything you needed to say about the whole Mark Edge Free State Project competition situation? I imagine it's going to come up again as Mark continues to develop whatever it is that he's putting together down there, and inevitably is going to start promoting it. I'm sure Bad Slave won't be happy about that.
I hope it works out. I mean, there's potential there.
I do too. I hope that it works out because I want to see Mark happy. You know, I want him to find a place that he feels good living.
The only reason that there's this idea that there's some kind of like back and forth or fight between us is because Mark keeps attacking the Free State Project instead of just promoting his thing. There's room for both. Nobody would be saying anything negative about it if Mark wasn't saying negative things about the Free State Project. But as you said, he has backed off.
Well, even if he weren't attacking the New Hampshire migration, I would still be critical of what he's doing, just simply because I am just not of the belief that the Honduran government is just going to turn a blind eye to a bunch of, Bitcoin rich people showing up in their territory. And
if they were smart and they wanted prosperity for their people and their place, they would totally allow that to happen. Just turn their blind eye. But they're
governments,
freak show government people.
Well,
and
Mark has a lot of answers for that, and he usually kind of convinces me that's probably not something that's going to happen. They're probably not going to roll in tanks probably
they can't really roll in a tank very easily. It's an island, and it would be hard to.
Well, whatever
to do that.
They would roll in.
But they could have troops or something like that. They could come in with for sure.
But my biggest criticisms of it, since we're talking about it anyway, are more just I don't want to live my life like that, like a small island where there's like a few places to buy things.
I think there's like one restaurant or something.
Yeah, no, I would not want to live like that. It's awful. And also, I think it's kind of hedonistic to just say, I'm going to go live my life on an island and have a good life myself. Screw what everybody else on Earth is going through and their human suffering.
Is that hedonistic or narcissistic, to go back to our conversation from earlier?
It's definitely hedonistic to just say, I care about the pleasures of myself and don't care about the troubles of Earthmen other than me.
Earthmen.
But I don't know, Mark might be a narcissist. Do you think so?
You'd have to ask him that question.
Well, you asked the question, so that's why I said it.
I'm just asking.
No, I've seen Mark be very, very caring and giving and
no, there's no doubt he's a good guy.
He's a very good dude
for sure. And I think he's doing this for his reasons, which are not necessarily the wrong reasons. And there may be other people who have the same reasons.
And like I said, I don't think of all narcissists as a bad thing, so I'm not saying anything mean about Mark. I really like him.
So the number here is 603-283-6160. It's funny, we were talking about El Salvador. I've got more to that story. I also had the story about what's going on in Honduras. There was some news about that recently, and I don't know if I've got it handy, but it was basically about Bitcoin being announced as the sort of official currency or the legal tender. Here it is in what's called Prospera, which is right next door to where Mark wants to set up his thing. So Mark was originally looking at this Prospera thing, and he decided not to join it for some reason.
Was it on Roatan?
Yeah, Roatan, which is the island next door to where Mark is. That is, and I can't speak for him. I don't remember all the details, but I think it was like a personality issue with whoever the guy is that's running the Roatan thing.
Yeah, but he didn't like the land, too.
Okay, I don't remember that detail. I mean, Rotan's larger. There's like 20,000 people or something there. There's a lot more to do, that kind of thing. So it's a much
but I think it was like
bigger place.
It was like there's less to develop or less for sale. I don't know, something like that.
I don't think that was it. I think he just didn't want to be a part of this Prospera. Anyway, Honduran officials announced April 8th the country will now accept Bitcoin as legal tender, but only in the special economic zone called Honduras Prospera. As reported by Crypto Slate in late March, the Central American country of Honduras signaled its intent to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. At that time, the president said the neighboring El Salvador might not be the only country to free itself from the dollar hegemony. However, then the central bank walked that back, if I recall correctly, and said they had no intention of adopting cryptocurrency. However, they are only announcing it for the Special Economic Zone, Honduras Prospera. It was established in 2020 as an economic development hub to attract investment and entrepreneurial opportunities. Located on the island of Roatan, about 65 kilometers off the northern coast of Honduras, It boasts a tropical climate and a burgeoning infrastructure with plans to turn the area into a futuristic enterprise paradise. And I remember when Mark was telling me about Roatan, because he was very excited about it for a time. Mark's kind of like been jumping around and going to different places for the last half a decade, and this was one of them. And he said that apparently Roatan is English speaking. It kind of has like an interesting history as a pirate island, where that's where the pirates were located down there, like one of the spots for pirates. So like a lot of the things on Roatan are named after pirates and things like that. And so there's apparently a lot of English speakers who go there to retire, and expatriates that go there to live. So it's an interesting place to start one of these special economic zone experiments. It is the first of many planned development hubs in Honduras to follow the Prospera blueprint. Such projects may push the adoption of Bitcoin as legal tender across Honduras as new development breaks ground. The Honduras Prospera official said the zone's fiscal and administrative autonomy enables crypto innovation and allows for the use of Bitcoin by all entities established there. Now, really the question is, how far along is this Prospera? I mean, because, when I first heard about it, it was just a plot of land that was completely undeveloped. I mean, how far have they come? Have they built residential areas? Are there business districts? I mean, what are they trying to do? The way these
and
things.
Why do they need to allow people to use crypto? That's what I'm confused about. If this is like some free society.
Well, the difference, of course, being in a free place, anything would be allowed in theory, but with companies or whatever, they feel more comfortable when there's some sort of a legal structure, when you can say, Bitcoin is legal here. See, we have a regulatory structure that says it's okay to do Bitcoin things here. But they say here Roatan is still in the early stages of development and has not even built their first residential units. The elephant in the room, they say, is that Honduras Prospera is geographically small within Honduras and is not the country itself. Statement by the Central Bank of Honduras points to friction amongst the country's chain of command. As a result, the central bank says it cannot back cryptocurrency, and activity of this type is solely the individual's responsibility, as it should be. So we'll, if we hear more about Prospera, we'll certainly let you know about it, and maybe next time Mark calls in, we'll ask him why he didn't just go there and set up on that island, because it's much larger. As I said, there's a veterinary clinic, there's restaurants, there's a variety of things for people to do.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. There's no vet on Utila. I'm not going to be able to.
There's nothing on Utila. I mean, hardly anything. There's just a couple thousand people.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to take Coconut there and he accidentally eats a sea urchin.
Yeah, I mean, you've driven through towns in New Hampshire with a couple thousand people and you just blink and it's gone, right? Like there's nothing there to speak of. So that's the latest there from Honduras. It looks promising, looks interesting, and we'll definitely keep our eyes on it. So back to the story about El Salvador, where Nayib Bukele is cracking down on using what they call mano duro techniques, and I think that basically means heavy-handed.
Oh, I was wondering what that meant.
Spanish. That they're cracking down on so-called gang members, and that they're putting them in prison for up to 15 days without charges. These are overstacked prisons already with way too many people in them. And they're doing this all under a so-called state of emergency. And the critics say they believe he's doing all of this, the president down there, to take attention away from what they're calling his failed cryptocurrency experiment. And
it could also be a million other things that are going awry there that I really doubt. The Bitcoin thing doesn't seem that big to me down there.
Yeah, and it's easy to call the Bitcoin experiment a failure because, well, the price of Bitcoin went down immediately after basically he set up the scene down there, and it hasn't really recovered since that time. So from a financial perspective, it looks bad on paper, but we all know that if you hold on to Bitcoin long enough, it has a tendency to come on back.
It does.
And reach new record highs. More coming up.
If you're looking for work, it's a process of elimination, and you're trying not to be eliminated. So here's a tip for making the cut, and this might seem subtle, but to the person interviewing you, it's not. There is a world of difference between applicants who convey, "I need a job," and those who simply ooze, "I want to work, especially in these lean times when many you're competing with will seem desperate in I'll take anything mode. If you convey specific interest in this job at this company, you will be conspicuous. Thus, the value of going to school on the company you're applying to before the interview. With money and attention so tight now, effective communication skills have never been more important. For more tips for job seekers and everyone else, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live.
I was watching some videos of you and your crew of cronies on YouTube, and I was shocked at what I saw.
What did you see that was so shocking?
Degenerates that were harassing members of your community. I saw you chasing around some traffic lady, parking violation.
The parking attendants, yeah. Okay, so you saw some footage from Robin Hood of Keene where...
There's a whole bunch of that footage out there, and I can assure you didn't see me.
That wasn't really a Free Talk Live thing.
Incorrect.
All right, you got me. You got me. Lay it on me, prosecutor. What'd you see?
Incorrect. I would like you to address, are you guys receiving government benefits while you guys are doing this? I think you are.
No.
What would the benefit be?
Incorrect! Incorrect, sir!
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Phones open. You can join us here at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We're talking about the crackdown in El Salvador. Nayib Bukele, the dictator down there. Oh, no, he's a president. He's been elected. Well, he's also stacking the Supreme Court to try to overrule the Constitution, basically, and allow him to have a second term because he's constitutionally not supposed to be doing that, but he might just get away with it. Critics say that they believe that Bukele is rounding up people that he's simply accusing of being in gangs and putting them in prison cells for up to 2 weeks, 15 days behind bars without any charges, not giving them access to attorneys, and cutting the food at the prisons from 3 meals a day to 2, just because. probably because he doesn't have the money for this. And they've got a ton of people locked up right now.
El Salvador is in a perennial hellhole with, bad supply problems and stuff.
And it could be that this experiment with Bitcoin becomes this amazing success. And I really do hope for them that it does, for the people of El Salvador, not because I care about El Bukele or whatever, but because the people of El Salvador, for the most part, not so wealthy, right? Like to actually have the opportunity to get into Bitcoin, to have easy access to it. They, to the credit of the government, there are hundreds of Bitcoin vending machines all around El Salvador. The government's wallet sucks, and the system that they've created is no good, and they're trying to force it down people's throats. And so they went about this the entire wrong way. But if some people get into Bitcoin who hadn't previously because of this, and they end up being successful with it, then that's going to be a good thing for those folks. We'll see how it all plays out. Bukele's war on suspected gang members, according to the New York Times, began last month after 3 straight days of intense killing. Officials said 62 people were killed on the second day, making it the country's most violent day this century, March 26th. The gangs down there, which emerged in the 90s after the U.S. began deporting thousands of immigrants who had been convicted of crimes, have long preyed on society, extorting payments from small business owners in many regions. So these sound like the government, basically. In 2018, the country averaged about 9 killings per day, a significant drop compared with just a few years earlier when there were as many as 17 homicides a day. And this is a country of like a few million people, like 6 or 7 million. Under Bukele, that average fell to around 4 per day. He's credited his so-called territorial control plan, a security program whose details he has never revealed. But investigative journalists and U.S. officials explained the dramatic reduction of homicides differently, saying his administration has simply negotiated with the gangs to bring down the killings. U.S. Treasury Department recently announced sanctions against his Vice Minister of Justice and a top presidential aide for cutting a deal with the leaders of the MS-13 gang. Sanctions followed reporting from investigative news site El Faro that revealed evidence of the pact, including prison reports from covert meetings between officials and gang leaders.
Wow. I wonder what kind of agreement.
Apparently a secretive one. They're somehow getting these gangs to agree to
kill less people,
kill fewer gang members. Bukele has denied those claims vehemently. Many in El Salvador assume the explosion of violence signaled a breakdown of the truce. In the ensuing crackdown, the military has set up checkpoints in poor neighborhoods, and police have been ordered to stop and frisk anyone they suspect. And more than 6,000 people have now been arrested by security forces.
Wow.
Bukele claims they're all gang members, and given the country's history of gang warfare, a large segment of the population appears to have little problem with his tactics. Because you know how the tough-on-crime people are here in the United States. Those people exist everywhere.
Nutcases.
They don't care about rights. They don't care about stop and frisk. They support things like that. I saw some woman...
Like Dan from Nebraska.
Sure, but also people on the right wing as well. The tough-on-crime people,
they're everywhere.
Tough-on-crime people are on both the right and the left.
Yep, statism.
And we know it doesn't work. But human rights activists say the arrests are indiscriminate, with many innocent people being swept up and their basic rights to due process denied. Yeah, I mean, if you happen to look like a gangster, you're going to get arrested.
I mean,
they don't need evidence.
People's rights are being denied just by the guy saying to the police, stop and frisk anyone you suspect.
Yep. In the nation's capital, families have gathered outside detention centers every day waiting for news of their missing loved ones. Quote, "My son had never been detained and never had any problems," said one woman waiting outside of a police station known as El Penalito this week, who asked not to give her name because she's afraid of government retaliation.
Of course.
Her 20-year-old son was arrested. Well, also the gangs.
Yeah.
Same thing.
They're both gangs.
Yeah. Her son was arrested March 27th in a raid on their town just miles west of San Salvador, which is the capital, and she hasn't heard from him since. Quote, "He and my daughter sold fruits and vegetables where we live. He just went to work and came straight back to the house. People from my church have been collecting money to help me. You think they would do that if my son was a gang member?"
Right.
The crackdown has left many young people in poor neighborhoods wondering whether they might be arrested next, said Pastor Pedro Gonzalez, who asked parishioners at his church in a working-class neighborhood in the capital to write letters that male members can show security forces, explaining that they're Christians.
This is scary. What if they're just trying to round up all the males right now so they can do something really bad to everyone?
Yikes.
Quote, almost the whole church has offered to sign letters so when they get pulled over by the police, at least they'll have something to show. I don't want to be silent, said Gonzalez, the pastor. He says, and I'm not going to say everyone who lives in gang-controlled communities is a criminal. So that's what's going on right now in El Salvador. Checkpoints
Bastion
run by the
of
military.
freedom. El Salvador.
Yeah, well, you say that, Bonnie, and that's because the president down there is trying to position his administration as some sort of freedom-loving system. And the opposite seems to be the case. But if you read his tweets, if all you believe is what this man says, and there's a lot of Bitcoiners who've fallen under his spell, we're waiting for some charismatic politician to grab them by the hand and lead them to Bitcoin. What are they calling it? Bitcoin City or whatever, this new thing they're pushing down there.
Important that you said Bitcoiners and not libertarians. Not all Bitcoiners are libertarians.
That's true. Yeah, and that's a really important point. A lot of the people in the Bitcoin community these days, they don't understand liberty. They don't care about freedom.
Nope.
They don't even know about the principles that Bitcoin was born out of.
No.
Are you saying they're psychopaths? Ian?
Well, I don't know. I don't know them, but I would say this about them, that they are just in it for the money. And a lot of us...
Number go up.
Yeah, they want the number to go up. They see it as an investment, right? They don't see it as something that's going to change the world or reshape finance or empower the individual. Or
I'd say they actually
peace.
hinder it by not using it in trade. They're probably not speeding up the increase of its price in the first place. They're sitting on it.
That's true, and that is what they advocate for it. By the way, is just buy it and sit on it. Hodl is what they say, and you're right, Matt. To not use something as a currency that was intended for that means that it's not as valuable as it otherwise would be.
Yeah, but who cares? There's already Bitcoin Cash that works better anyway. Even if Bitcoin was worth $1, it would be a success. Even if it was a steady worth $1, not forced to be. But if that's just what everybody took it as, what the market saw it as, it would be a success.
It would be hard to say that, given that it's now at $40,000. So it would be down from $40,000 to $1. I don't know.
No, I don't mean if it went there. I'm just saying if it always just stayed that way.
Oh, you're saying if it hit $1 and didn't go any higher?
Yeah, it'd be a success.
Yes, you're correct about that, because it would have come up from zero and was.
No,
was
I'm not
nothing
even
at
saying
some point.
because number went up. I'm saying because it can do what it was intended to do. It wasn't intended to just be a thing.
You're saying if people were using it.
Yeah, people getting rich was just an icing on top of the cake. The
That's
cake
right.
is that there's a peer-to-peer cash system that people can use to not have to use the dollar.
Well, there was, and then they ruined it by not actually expanding the network to allow for more transactions
And that's why
per
I mentioned
second.
Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah, Bitcoin Cash is certainly able to handle more transactions in any given what they call block. But Bitcoin Cash sometimes has real slow block times, and so does the regular Bitcoin too. It's supposed to happen every 10 minutes roughly, that there's what they call a block mined onto the blockchain. Not to get too technical, but the blockchain is the public ledger that's behind Bitcoin. That's what sort of the magic, some of the magic is. So there's the crypto aspect of it, and then there's the blockchain aspect of it. These are the two magic ingredients that make this thing work. Decentralization is also really important, and distributed data. But the thing is, because of the way the mining is, sometimes you might be waiting a half an hour for a block.
Yeah, with Bitcoin Cash, it's been giving me problems recently.
So,
even just when I open like my Edge wallet, Bitcoin Cash is the last one to finish loading and tell me what my amount is. Okay, I like Dash. Let's say Dash.
That's probably more an issue with Edge's server than it is with Bitcoin Cash in that case. But yeah, Dash has four times the block speed of Bitcoin Cash. Dash has finality that's irreversible. They've got protection against 51% attacks. Of course, Monero is super private, and those are two of my favorites. We'll see you tomorrow night. You can join us online between now and then over at freetalklive.com. We'll look forward to seeing you on our social media platform at social.freetalklive.com.
Adios.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul, with discounts